Hello and welcome back to Blood and Ashes. This is episode 19. I am your host Mo, and I'm joined as always by my dear friends Vili
Sabona.
and Jody.
Konnichiwa.
I knew you were going to go Japanese.
I thought for sure you were going to steal my fucking greeting.
Nah, I went a little bit closer to home this time around.
Okay, so today we are going to do chapters 6 through 11. So I want to do quickly check in with you both. I think I know the answer to this question, but have either of you read ahead of chapter 11?
Nope. I'm sticking to the schedule. This has been an exciting read for me because the only thing that I could vaguely remember is that there was a wolfman, and I forgot all about that. So it was like all new.
The one thing you could vaguely remember, you had forgotten about completely.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually really, for the first, well, not the first time, but I mean, again, for the first time in a while, really had to hold back from reading ahead, but not because I was like, bombarded with action and intrigue. I felt like not an awful lot happened in these chapters, and I wanted to keep reading so that something would happen.
Yes, there was nothing that excited me tremendously. Interesting moments, but not like, wow moments.
Exactly. I mean, we say that, but there's like, one power used as a weapon almost, and there is stuff, but I felt like, oh, here we go. First episode, I think, where it's like, okay, it's not all going to be Perrin chopping off half-men's heads and Lan doing a dance of death every chapter, which is it's necessary because, lest I remind you, book 10, book 11.
don't remind me about book 10.
Things get real dreary.
All right. Well, we'll just have to practice for those days because it's coming soon. In 3 years.
We will. And we will squeeze the fun out of whatever crosses our desks.
Oh, yes, totally. I mean, there wasn't any apple carts, so we've got a positive from that side. But there was some scrubbing of parts, which fucking like really.
I highlighted that knowing that you were going to bring it up. Speaking of things that are challenging, should we jump into the callback zone?
Here we go. Our favorite part of the show, where we correct ourselves the whole time.
You guys love it.
Fine, just go. Just do it.
I'll be honest, of all the prep for each episode, the callbacks is the hardest part for me because everything we've left, like every dangling, well, not everyone, but the most dangliest of threads, I have to go back and then actually find the text or do some research or something. It takes by far the longest out of all the prep work.
But you are the most pedantic of all of us, so it's
true.
You kind of carry that burden by yourself.
I'm a little obsessive compulsive. I can't ask a question in one episode and then leave it unanswered. Then I have to go and find the answers. So I try with relatively decent success rate.
No, you do. Good on you.
Let's jump straight in. I said that I really like to think that the statues cut into the western slopes of the Mountains of Mist would be remnants of Manetheren. Mm-hmm. And Jody, you quite rightly pointed out that the city of Manetheren was oriented towards the east of the Mountains of Mist, and that's why Aemon's Field, that became Eamon's Field, is down that way. And then, so I did a bit of digging online, and I found that according to the geographical description of Manetheren's borders, it fully encompassed the mountains stretching out to the west into what we know as the Elmouth Plain now, all the way down from the mountains. So the territory within which those statues fall are Manetheren. And we also know from reading these chapters that you can actually pass through those mountains. They are not completely impassable because the team, they all went into the mountains from the Elmouth Plain. And when they exit here, they exit into Gildan and stuff on the eastern side. So there are ways of getting through there. In fact, Uno is sent one way to Jehanna and the other guys come out to the town of, I don't know, whatever it is where they find Old Wolf Boy. So I feel comfortable in assuming that those large statues could be something left over from Manetheren. So I'm going to cling to that little thread of hope, just because I love Manetheren. And then we spoke a bit about Moiraine and her warding. Like, was she warding their dreams? What were the wards that she had set when Perrin was, basically relying on the wolves to sort of ward his dreams? And I went back and I read that part where Min was sort of questioning her about what she was actually doing. And what Moiraine was doing was she had set wards that hid them instead of setting wards that would keep shadow spawn out. Because they talk about grey men and stuff, and Min saying, "Oh, you should set wards to like keep those things out of here, keep us safe." And Moiraine says, "Look, firstly, that would trap us here, and secondly, making wards of those kinds are outside of my realm of capability. So, this is what's going to keep us mobile. I can continue to set these wards, which are lower effort, and they keep us hidden, which means that we are a bit more mobile."
Is that the same ward that she used in the Blight in book 1?
It must be.
When they camped there next to Melchior.
Yeah, and everyone disappears.
Yeah.
Wasn't it she used that ward already on them when they stayed in the, after they passed Whitebridge? Just past the ferry. Not Whitebridge, sorry.
Taryn Ferry.
And then the shrubby, bushy, she also put a ward up there to hide them.
She did. Like in the log jam.
In the log jam.
The Beaver Lodge.
The Beaver Lodge, that's it.
So she is definitely relying on wards to hide them, but she's not warding their dreams, and she's not warding them to keep any shadow spawn out. Here's a pedantic one for you, Joe. We said in our last episode that they burned the bodies of the wolves, but they didn't. They actually buried the bodies of the wolves, which would have been a really weird thing for the Shinarans and the other humans around there to do. Because when they said, when Uno makes the comment about at least they'll have the fur coats and stuff from the wolves, and Perrin goes, no, and then you will bury them with the rest of the human dead. They would have been like, okay, we'll do that, I guess, because you're Perrin. We also spoke about when does Perrin throw away his axe, and when does he make his hammer, and when does he take up the hammer. So those are 3 different events. Obviously, Perrin throwing away his axe, and then the next time he goes out taking a blacksmith's hammer, and then later, way later in the series, I think it's only in the Knife of Dreams, does he make his own hammer when Neil is standing near him, and he notices that the metal is sort of talking to him, and Neil starts channeling while Perrin is forging the weapon. And by the end of Perrin's forging, Neil has been joined by, I think, 6 wise ones and Grady. And like they're all channeling in a circle into that thing while Perrin is forging it. And Perrin says afterwards he felt like a part of him was being imbued in the hammer, and only to Perrin's touch the hammer feels really, really warm. So he has a power wrought hammer towards the end of the story. Like, how cool is that?
Do not remember that at all.
Me neither. But the part we were really sort of like fixated on is like, when does he get rid of the axe? Because Billy, you thought it was in book 1 already.
Was already in book 1, yes.
I said book 9.
And that's it, Jody. You said book 9, but it was in book 10. In chapter
really?
27 in book 10, yeah. It's after Perrin uses the axe to cut the hands and feet off that Shido Aielman.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's looking for Fail, and the Shido have her, and he threatens to cut off his hands and feet and to leave him in the next village so that he can be a laughing stock and an oddity and a beggar, and the children can throw food at him and stuff. And after he's done that, he goes into the woods, and like you said, he throws the axe away, and it sits in a tree, like it thunks into the trunk, and he leaves it there.
Shit. Shit is happening in book 10. I'm going to reevaluate book 10.
Heavy days. I'm really hoping that when we get to the quote-unquote slog this time around, we can really see it for what it is. A masterpiece.
I'm pretty sure it will be. It's we're in such different places.
Totally. We also spoke, how's this? This is, okay. I'm getting ahead of myself. We spoke about the Dark Friend Social. And Jody, you were thinking like, the woman clad head to toe in black. Could that have been Suroth? Sort of like hiding all of her telltale Seanchan accoutrement. And I went back and I read the Dark Friend Social again. We just read this, I know a little couple of weeks ago now, or months ago, but during this reread where I'm trying to pay as much attention as possible, there were 2 women covered head to toe in black, and both of them wore serpent rings. Bors is looking at one of them, and before she notices him staring, he looks away and catches the eye of another woman dressed head to toe in black with a serpent ring looking at him.
Wow, missed that.
So there were 2 of them.
Neither of them was Suroth.
No, exactly. But I mean, just goes to show again, like how savvy the Aes Sedai are, right? Like they are not playing around with disguises. Some people at the Darkfin Social are not disguised at all.
Yeah.
And are two Aes Sedai and just covered head to toe.
Noobs.
Yeah. Billy, you said about the Darkfin Social that you assumed that all the Forsaken were there.
No, not all the Forsaken. Did I say that?
You did.
Oh.
We don't know what we've said previously.
Captain Pedantry is on your case.
Here we go.
Yeah, no, I think it was only Ishmael. I think that's his little scene. No, there was a beautiful woman with dark hair, but she had dark coppery skin, and Bors comes to the conclusion that she's Domani. So, if you had to gloss over that and not sort of pay attention to the hue of her skin, it would sound like Lanfear, a tall, beautiful woman with dark hair.
Well, what we were discussing, I think, was that some of the Forsaken don't know what the boys look like, assuming that, yes, there's the confusion. So, yeah, that would make sense then, because then they weren't at the social, so they didn't get the 3D view.
Exactly.
What's that little hologram of Leia?
Exactly. And I think the reason we were talking about that is because we had that wolf dream where Perrin saw Belal, Ravin, and Ishmael arguing about stuff in the world of dreams, and Lanfear sort of like looking out, spying on them. And we actually had a callback submission from someone that wrote in before, Aisha John, who says that, and I mean, this is just what I'm taking from their message. I have not researched this or anything, but it seems to fit our ideas anyway, that Belal in Tyr, who has now set himself up as a High Lord, is basically projecting his desire for Kalandor to all and sundry to come and try to claim it, hoping to lure out of hiding the Dragon Reborn to take it so that he can take it from the Dragon Reborn, because only the Dragon Reborn can actually take the sword, and Belal wants it. So he wants to lure the Dragon Reborn out. And I mean, that could even be one of the reasons why he and Ravin and Ishmael were arguing. Ishmael might have been telling them, forget trying to manipulate this guy, because Belal is a famous manipulator, far better at it than Ishmael or Ravin or any of the other Forsaken. So he is that guy that is trying to pull the puppet strings in the background. And Ishmael might have rocked up there and said, stop trying to manipulate the Dragon Reborn. I've tried. It's time to kill him.
Happen.
And that's and that's why Dark Friends are killing boys on the Elmouth Plain that look like Rand and that sort of thing, because from Ishmael's point of view, he now just wants him dead. Rand has killed him twice, and he's probably taking it quite personally.
Definitely taking it personally.
Oh yes. I did a bit of reading about, again from Perrin's Wolf Dream in our last episode, why is Ishmael and Lanfear, why are they constantly offering the boys glasses of wine in the world of dreams? Like, what does that actually do? Have you done any reading about this, Joe, or are you just saying because you're also interested in like, what the hell are they doing?
I know
the second part.
Yeah, absolutely,
of course. Here we go, strap in.
Poor decisions are always made when you're drunk. It's a known fact. None of us have made any good decisions.
Get wasted, then you'll listen to me.
Wine. Come on,
Billy, I was waiting for like a psycho theory, but that actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, we might be reading too much into it. They could literally just be trying to get the boys drunk so they make worse decisions.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
After 7 cups, Rand is like, you're right, I did serve you in a past life. I totally remember that.
This is a great idea. We should also get tattoos. The internet seems inconclusive about it as well. A lot of people have speculated about what it could be. Like, people are sort of like discounting theories. It can't be poison because at the time, they've already decided, at least in book 1, Ishmael is not trying to kill Rand. He's trying to manipulate him. Some people have drawn parallels to some Greek mythology. Apparently, if you went to the world or the underworld or the world of the dead and you consumed food from that world, you couldn't leave. So, I think it's Hades tricks Persephone or someone into eating pomegranate seeds. And because of that, she can't leave for a certain amount of time. So it could be a way of like trapping someone in the world of dreams somehow.
Yeah.
Which, it's nice to think about, but there's nothing else in the story. Then there's no motivation or motive that could actually, back up that theory. But we actually speculated about, is that maybe a way to track the boys. Like at the time we first read about it, Moraine's Tar Valon coin was still fresh in our minds. Like, is this a way that they can track them? And then on some old forums, I read about a couple of people talking about how Rand doesn't have the drink, and Perrin also refuses the drink. But at the time in the Eye of the World, when Ishmael was breaking the backs of the rats in the inn, and like those dreams, he wasn't 100% sure about who the Dragon Reborn was. So he would have been offering that drink to everyone. And maybe, because you never find out whether Matt took the drink or not, maybe Matt, under the influence of the dagger and being sort of like the loose cannon that he is, maybe he did take the drink. And that could be why the Dark Friends are right on top of them that whole way as they travel, which is also just a fun thought, because they also say that the dagger itself draws Dark Friends from miles around. Yeah. So anyway, the long story
More
short,
questions.
Inconclusive. Well, at least we know that it's not something we've missed and that nobody knows.
All right.
Just fun fodder for discussion.
I'm believing that you just get them intoxicated with these young boys and they're going to make silly decisions. It's like, how do we get these guys
just
to
like
just give us all the information? Oh, let's throw some beers at them. That will work.
We also wondered, where does Rand hear the prophecy that he quotes to Moiraine? And she says, where did you hear that? About the blood on the rocks of Shire Ghul. And we sort of dismissed, couldn't have been Tom, because Tom recites some prophecy to him in Kyrian, but not that part. But it turns out he did exactly that excerpt. No. It was Tom that told him those words in Kyrian.
I told you so.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for driving that point home last time. We also thought that Rand was quoting the prophecy directly, but he wasn't. He was paraphrasing, because the prophecy goes, twice dawns the day when his blood is shed, once for mourning, once for birth. Red on black, the dragon's blood stains the rock of Shire Ghul. In the pit of doom shall his blood free men from the shadow. But what Rand says to Moiraine is, the blood of the dragon reborn on the rocks of Shire Ghul will free mankind from the shadow. So he's paraphrasing that thing that Tom had told him, which, it's cool that he retained that. Like whenever he hears little bits of the prophecy, he actually retains it. Speaking of the prophecy, we also had a bit of chat about the pronunciation of its official name, and it is the Careathon cycle, like you said, Joe. I think you actually said that last time.
I pronounced something correctly.
Whoa. Ding, 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 ding.
I'm going to retire now, guys. Go out on a high.
Another mystery we started. I mean, this is free for anyone to read, but we turned it into a mystery for ourselves. Is what happened to Loyal's staff when he was fighting Shadowspawn in the Mountains of Mist? Was he using the one that he had sung in the Portalstone Worlds? But you were quite right, Joe. He had discarded it in that flight from the Grolm when they're running with Selene to get to the Portalstone that she said she used to get there. At one point they go up quite a steep hill and the horses are struggling, and Loyal tosses the staff aside because he says it would do no good against the Grolm anyway, and Loyal is basically dragging the horse up the hill. Which is pretty cool. So he wasn't fighting the Shadowspawn with the staff that he sung in the Portalstone Worlds, but I'm sure that in the months that they were up in the mountains preparing to defend that space, he probably preemptively, I'm going to assume, sung himself another staff, or used a tool and just whittled it, or he procured a staff in some way.
He found a stick in the woods.
He pulled a branch off a tree and started swatting at Trollocs. We also read about Perrin naming his horse Stepper because of his quick feet. And I made an offhanded comment that, Stepper's around all the way until the end of the series. And then I had to go fact check myself because I am Captain Pedantry.
He dies in the next chapter. Eaten by Trollocs.
Well, this is not important, so I didn't do an awful lot of research, but I looked into it, and according to the wiki for Wheel of Time, Stepper's current status, which is everyone's status at the end of A Memory of Light, is alive.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you remember this name, but Perrin at one point gets a different horse called Stayer.
Ah, yes.
And it is mentioned that he is not as quick-footed as Stepper. So the names are quite literal, both of them. But I think Stayer, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate as to the whereabouts of Stayer at the Memory of Light, because this is like gift that keeps on giving. I can read. There are pages online. I'll say this: there are pages online dedicated to the horses of the Wheel of Time, which is just it's a step too far for me.
Yeah, well.
Then this is the last one. I promise. I see you guys falling asleep on that side already. I got a nice long voice note from a friend of the show, Rowan, who quite wisely decided to send a voice note to me instead of trying to type all of this out. But he was a couple episodes behind, and he wanted to chime in about the chapter towards the end of The Great Hunt called The First Claiming, where, Lanfear appears to Min, where she's cradling Rand. And we were sort of kind of flippant about Lanfear's arrival at that point. We're like, what is the point of this? And we were at the end of a very, very long episode at that point, so we didn't necessarily have all of our faculties available to us. But Rowan made a very good point in that the title of that chapter is deliberately ambiguous because Min very much does claim Rand to Egwene's face. Like, she basically says, you cast him aside, he's mine now, and I'm claiming him, in not so many words. But Lanfear's whole shtick is that she was the first to claim Lews Therin before even Ilyena, because they were romantically involved before Lews Therin married Ilyena. So she's got this chip on her shoulder about, I was the first one to claim him. He is mine. You can think what you want. You look after him until I come and fetch him. And all of that actually, and the ambiguity of the title and the fact that they've both, laid claim to him, reinforces the duality of Rand's nature. The fact that it is Lews Therin and Rand al'Thor at the same time. Min is claiming Rand, Lanfear is claiming Lews Therin. So the ambiguity there is intentional, or could be. And that all fits really nicely for me. That actually seems to make quite a lot of sense.
Thanks, Rowan.
Yeah, nice one, Rowan. He also sent me a much shorter voice note about he had only listened to the first part of the prologue from the Dragon Reborn, but he wanted to comment on the fact that Pedro Niall's chair is described as almost throne-like. So while he is a practical man, he quite likely has designs on some position of legend or power from early on, since before the events of the books necessarily took place. So there's a little bit of ambition on display there. Whether he inherits that chair from the previous Lord Captain Commander, who knows? If it's anything like the Amelin study, like he can furnish it how he wants, probably including the chair. So I'm going to assume that he has showed his hand a little bit there in making it look like he wanted some power.
Yeah.
Okay. That brings us to the end of the callbacks. You guys can rejoin the podcast now.
Hello, we're back.
2 hours later.
Okay, so why don't we head straight into chapter 6 then? Jody, why don't you take us through The Hunt Begins?
All right, let me stretch.
We were done with the Great Hunt.
Yeah. We're never done with the Great Hunt. I think it's like later on in books 9. I mean, when he meets Fael, she's a hunter for the horn. People still hunting it the whole time. Oh, you found it.
You fools.
No one told us. So, chapter 6. The hunt begins, or continues. Rand is gone. He's fucked off. Land wakes up Perrin with the news that Rand disappeared during the night in his little chilly shack that he's sleeping in, where they then head to Moiraine's hut to formulate a plan and to figure out where the fuck this guy went and what we're going to do about it. To Perrin, the camp still smells of death and blood, because remember, it's just last night that they had that massive attack and he decapitated a Fade and all of that. So even though for the rest of us it's been a long time since we spoke about this, it's only last night. So on his way to Moiraine, he is stopped by Masema, who's gone full crazy now. And he wants to know why the Lord Dragon has abandoned them. And he's grabbing Perrin by the coat. He stops him in the middle of the stream. And this, to me, is the biggest callback. The biggest takeaway from this chapter now is that Perrin has a soggy boot. I was so pissed off. Like, can't you stop him outside the stream? Anyway, I'm not going to go down that road. But anyway, he has a soggy boot now. So he wants to know why. And Perrin has to pretend to care and tells him, no, the Lord Dragon had a plan. He wouldn't just abandon us. This is all according to his plan. And Masema's like, oh, yeah. You're right. I see that now. And off he goes. So now Perrin has a squishy left boot. And off he goes to go to Moiraine in her hut. Inside the hut, there's Moiraine, there's Loial, and Min are waiting there. Perrin has some stern words for Moiraine, much to Lyell's despair. He's cringing at every second word. I mean, you thought that Rand was being cheeky with the Aes Sedai, but Perrin is just as flippant with her and demanding answers from her, not giving her any respect. She's calmly taking it, but Loyal is not happy about it at all. And no one seems to know how Rand slipped away unnoticed. I mean, he's in a camp with Lan, for one.
And sentries.
And Moiraine, and everybody's there. And he's just gone. No one heard or saw.
A camp full of Shinarian lancers that were chosen to be the best.
And Lan, that's my point. Even if none of those other people were there, and just Lan, it's still an amazing feat. But we do find out later on how it went. So Rand left a note. He didn't sign it or anything, but obviously it's his. Basically, he doesn't want anyone else to die for him. So he's gone off to hunt Ishamael, because he says he is chasing me in my dreams, and there's some more mumbo-jumbo about dreams. This whole section, I think, from all the 6 chapters we're going to cover is a lot about dreams, the world of dreams and all of that stuff, and the danger inherent in them, etc., etc. Perrin still questions her about whether she truly, her as in Moiraine, about whether she truly believes that Rand is the dragon reborn, or if she's still playing him. He's still not 100%. And even Moiraine, I think she's certain, but she's not certain that the world is going to accept Rand is the dragon reborn, regardless of what happens.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So Moiraine also reveals at this point that the Forsaken are free. And this is a point that also pretty pedantic maybe, that I never considered before, but there's a difference between the Dark One's prison and the seals on the Dark One's prison. And that the Dark One is trapped in the prison, but the Forsaken were trapped in the ceiling around the prison. So they're not in there. So they were in the seals. So as soon as the seals weakened, that's why they're out there so quickly. And I was like, oh, okay, I never considered that before.
I haven't in the past, and I still don't today, understand how you trap evil in a disc.
It's magic, Villy.
The bore, like, is it a borehole down into earth where they chucked them, like stomped them down with a stick and then plugged it with the 6 seals?
No, it's in the world of dreams.
The bore is through to another dimension. From our reality into another reality.
So they put them in an alternate universe.
Well, that's the distinction Jody is making. They did not put the Forsaken into an alternate universe. The Dark One was always in the other dimension. Lanfear finds it and senses a source of power in this other dimension, and then creates a rift between our dimension and this other dimension, and that's when the influence of the Dark One comes out through that rift. And that is the source of the true power. That is the other source of power that she sensed there, is the true power, because the one power is the power of our world. And the discs are just like they're like
as focus points. Or something?
Yes, exactly. They're just focus points for the power that was used to actually create the seal over that rift. And where it becomes confusing to me as well is, I mean, obviously a bore, it creates an image, a mental image of a deep hole. And then also the name, the Pit of Doom, you know, like, okay, what's the difference between the Pit of Doom and the bore? Is that just where the bore is? It happens to be in a pit that, you know, sounds like it would be a similar shape. It's all very, very murky.
Yeah, the theory is that she drilled the bore in the world of dreams as well. It's not in our reality even.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's all through the world of dreams. That's the world that connects all these different realities and
dimensions.
Jeez, my brain is fried. So yeah, that's the nexus. There is the world of dreams that connects all of this. Anyway, so she's worried about Rand. I mean, Moiraine is playing her own game. She's trying to save the world, but she does actually care about the boys. And she's worried about these dreams because, I mean, there was mention of dreams. Perrin mentions it, and then she looks at him right away. It comes right up in his face. She's all up in his shit. Tell me about these dreams. Like, what have you been dreaming about? And it turns out through this chapter, we find out that everybody has been dreaming of swords, has been dreaming of Calandor. And that Rand is just so powerful, a channeler, that he's projecting his dreams on everyone else. So we spoke earlier in the last podcast about why is Perrin dreaming about Calandor? Like, if he's not the Dragon Reborn and all that kind of stuff. This is why. Everybody, it's not just him. Everybody in the camp
all the
has
soldiers,
been dreaming about
lances, and
yeah.
Uno. He's flaming dreaming about these bloody swords. There's another scene here where he's being interrogated by Moiraine and trying to hold back his swearing, and he physically
he's sweating.
Like after he's
With
finished
effort.
speaking, he has to breathe deeply and like
He has
took
to
it out of
issue
him.
instructions right after that, and then he goes down and catches up for lost time with swearing.
Yes. Just anyway, so but that's where we find out that Perrin is stripped of Calandor, or Calendor, how you wish. Him and others, of course, and it's only one of the many prophecies. So this is what I was talking about earlier. That she believes that he's the dragon reborn, and the talk then in the cabin is that, well, if he takes Calandor, then the world has to accept him. I mean, that's like a pretty big sign. She's like, maybe. There's a lot of shit that has to go down. There's a lot of prophecies and a lot of things the dragon has to do. And even scholars that have studied it their entire lives don't know what all of those things mean. And even if he takes it, the world may not accept him as the dragon reborn. One of the other prophecies she mentions is like, what do these things mean? Like, slay his people with the sword of peace. We all know now, slay the people of the dragon is him, that he reveals their true origins to the Aiel, and bind the 9 moons to serve him was another thing that she doesn't know what the hell that means. Obviously, we know that now with the Sean-Chan. But still, Perrin continues to press Moiraine for more info and telling her, like, stop holding stuff back and tell me the truth for once. And just then Lan returns to tell Moiraine, because she sent him out to go and check what everybody else's dreams were. And he gets back there and he's like, all right, yeah. So like half the people in the camp have been dreaming about swords and somebody touching the sword. And Masima dreamt that Rand actually grabbed the sword. And she's like, yeah, he would. Like, out of all the people. So yeah, this because she's like, the way they describe the dreams as well, she's been obviously inside the Stone of Tyr, or knows it intimately through drawings, or I don't know. But she's like, well, this is the Stone of Tyr, 100% confirmed. She's 100% sure now that Rand is heading for Tyr. So she's all stoked and rubbing her hands together like, all right, plan time. Now we know what we got to do and where we got to go. Saddle the horses. And off she goes. All right, she's getting everybody ready. Uno has also found out while he was away that how Rand slipped away. Now, in his secret little special place that he went to through the cracks, when he made that earthquake, he created another crack that he was able to escape through. And that's how no one saw him go. So he was in his special place and escaped out through there. Moiraine is just happy he hasn't rediscovered traveling or some flight or some crazy power that had been forgotten. Invisibility, no. But later on we find out he has actually. But anyway, Uno must take the Shinarans. So she's got a plan now. All right. Uno, because he's the only one that's fit enough to travel, like you said from the battle last time. Untouched. Yeah. He's going to take the Shinarans to Gildan. So we were talking about the gap. You were talking about the gap through the mountains there. So yeah, he's going to go through that side. And the orders are for him to take them and wait there. Where are they going? Are they going to Tyr as well? Just going through that direction? They're going to go meet them in Tyr?
Who? Uno and
Uno and the
Lancers?
Shinarans. Yeah.
I don't recall.
Why does she send them there specifically and tells them to wait when they get there? Anyway,
no idea.
That's where they're going. Maybe just to get them out the way for a little bit so that they can go and do their thing.
Well, they need to recuperate, right? Like, Uno's the only one that's really fit to do anything. The rest are all hurting.
Bruised.
All right. So go to Gildan and get better. There we go.
Yes, gold. Go drink some pints.
Specifically that one town.
Yeah.
Hang around there. I'll give you a letter. And
and Johanna, you'll get more money. Like, here's some money. Go and relax, and then you'll get some more money when you get there. All right. So they're going to recover. That's the prevailing theory.
We'll definitely find out because, when Masima becomes the prophet and he leads like armies of people who call themselves the people of the dragon, they, I think, come from Gildan.
All right.
Setting myself up for a huge correction.
But in next week's callbacks...
He sort of comes out of nowhere, like like that stuff sort of bubbling away in the background. And when you check back in with Masima, he's gone full crazy. Like, I mean, he's at 90% here, and when you see him again, he's 100%. He's got his head shaved.
He become like a preaching the prophecy.
It's called the prophet.
Yeah, he becomes like orphan.
Prophet of the dragon, yeah.
Yeah, and he leads that whole army of people that call themselves the people of the dragon.
Yes. Now that's all coming back to me.
Perrin has to deal with him, and he smells the crazy on Masima.
Anyway, so, well, that's what's happening to them. So that's that was a mistake by her part, I suppose, leaving them unattended. That's what happens. Can't leave those people unattended. So she sends Min as well, is going to Tar Valon to go and tell Swan the shit that's happening and has happened and keep her up to date. She can't send the men because the men will never get an audience. She can't send Uno. Like, he'll never even get in the tower, let alone get to see. So everyone's got their part to play. And Uno mentions that we are the people of the dragon. At this point, they're already calling themselves that. And Perrin laughs and asks Moiraine in a cocky tone, whether she has given them this new name. And Lan tells him to watch his tongue, like really angrily. And I thought to myself, holy shit, imagine if Lan had been there 5 minutes ago when Perrin was going off at Moiraine. Dude, this is nothing. You should have heard what he was saying just a few minutes ago.
You forget that Lan is really hard. Like, not just in a physical sense. There is no gray area for him. You stand up to Moiraine in any way, and he will tell you to sit the fuck down. Which is cool.
But anyway, he escaped damage that time, Perrin. So so who's left then is Perrin, Loial, Moiraine, and Lan. They're going to go find Rand. They're going to hit the road soon because he's got a couple of hours ahead of them, and they got to catch him. She asks politely whether Loial and Perrin would like to join them. She doesn't give them orders, but that's because she already knows what they're going to say. Of course, Loial's going to say yes. And Perrin is just like, he thinks about it a while, but of course he's going. What else is he going to do? Outside, Min teases Lan about a message for Nynaeve, like, hey, you want to let me know something? And he's like, Jesus, does everybody know? Like, yes, everybody knows. Except for the three of us for like 20 years. Didn't know. We know now. It's only after leaving Moraine's hut and Min mentioning, like, yeah, you really stood up to her in there. Perrin realizes, like, oh, fuck, yeah, I did. Like, I was really harsh. How am I still alive? It really dawns on him, like, the shit that he said. And he's like, oh, fuck. All right, well, no problem. Min also now sees new images around Perrin at this point. Now that he's decided to go after Rand, these new images appear around him. And one is an Aielman in a cage. What was this about an Aielman in a cage again?
That's how he meets Gaul.
All right. Okay. Gaul. Shit.
Yeah.
Good old Gaul.
Yeah.
The other image is a Tuathan with a sword. Aram. We know that one.
Of course.
And then the third one is a falcon and a hawk perched on his shoulders, both female. Falcon Fail and the hawk Berilane from Mayene. Surely, because their symbol is the hawk, as I recall correctly.
I think they actually appear as those birds in some of Perrin's dreams at some point as well. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that little love triangle is played over books and books and books. Yes. as long as Berilane's traveling with him. Yeah.
And she is fine, so he is a little bit...
RJ does like reminding us how smoking hot she is.
Yes. And then Min also warns him about a beautiful woman. I mentioned this earlier in the last episode. It was because I read ahead. Here it is. All right. Yes. And she's just like, whatever. And then, of course, later on, we find out that he does see her and completely ignores this piece of advice. And then, of course, he's telling her, like, all right, off you go. Off to Tar Valon. And that's where you'll be safe. And she's like, safe in Tar Valon? You fool. And that's basically where we leave them. There's a little bit there about he gets confused, I think. Is this the point where he gets confused that she might be into him?
No, she's questioning whether he's... I know, he's questioning her, like, whether she's into him. Like, yeah, you're right.
Yes.
And
he's confused.
She sets him
He's misreading
straight.
her completely.
Yeah, he misreads her completely. She's like, no, Rand. And he's like, but Rand and Egwene. And she's like, no. No, done. Step aside, bullhead.
Min obviously knows. Egwene knows. The only person who doesn't know is Rand. Like, in this scenario. I think he's got other things to worry about. But anyway, that's where we leave the chapter, with them all parting ways and heading on their own little solo missions.
No apple carts included.
No, it's too snowy.
Got anything else to add to that one, Vil?
No, that's pretty much what I've got out of it. It is a lot of table setting in a way, I suppose.
Most of these chapters are
colorful and flavorfully written chess piece moves.
I do love how Perrin stands up to Moiraine,
Mm-hmm.
following in the grand tradition of Rand, like openly challenging her. And we'll see as these chapters go on, that's actually a recurring theme, is sort of like the power dynamic between Perrin and Moiraine, and how it readjusts again after this period of Perrin sort of like really digging in against her.
It's interesting that they will take Moraine on, but they'll always be wary of Lan. So it's kind of the limits.
Sexist.
Well, it's not. I suppose it's kind
It's
of
the
ironic
patriarchy.
because the one that's gonna
Toxic
who is
masculinity.
able to inflict the most harm on them is Moraine, and
Yes.
they gun ho at her, but they're worried about Lan. and,
Yeah.
And when Lan's not there, then they're like, okay, cool, let loose. Lan gets back,
Yeah.
okay, let little loose.
They understand Lan. They don't understand Moiraine. Perrin still thinks of Ishmael as Baalzamon. Like, no one up until now has made any kind of link between this appearance of Baalzamon in their dreams and Rand's fight above Falme and all that stuff. No one has straight up said that could be Ishmael or that is Ishmael.
Well, they only found out about the Forsaken being free in this chapter.
Well, Agenor and Balthamel were both at the Eye of the World.
Oh, shit, yeah. What the fuck, Moraine?
Up your game. But she lists a couple of Forsaken, and I think most of, if not all of them, are actually. She lists Ravin, Belol, Lanfear, Ishmael. She says even Ishmael himself, the betrayer of hope, he could be out there.
Yeah,
meanwhile, we've been interacting with him on a pretty regular basis. Yeah,
he's been controlling your moves since book 1.
Totally.
Where'd you hear about the Eye of the World?
I wonder if Rand is starting to sort of suspect that the Baalzamon he's dealing with is not necessarily the Dark Lord himself. It's in the end of the Great Hunt where he says, hang on, this person doesn't know everything. Yes. And it is also reacting to the steel of my sword as if it could harm it, so he's still talking about it in his letter, but like he is still chasing me, so he's still referring to Baalzamon as Baalzamon, but I think he's starting to suspect that maybe this isn't him, but everyone else is still like, okay, this is the Dark One himself in my dreams. So Baalzamon's disguises are working.
Yeah. He's doing something right.
Yeah.
Just can't get those boys to drink wine. Like he's piss poor. He can't have a piss up undercover in a brewery.
I found it quite interesting that Moiraine was so tender towards Min when Min breaks down in this chapter. Like she's sort of like she's upset because Rand is missing. And upset about like obviously what his fate is going to be. And while Moiraine is talking, she puts her hand on Min's head and she's sort of soothing her. And even as she's talking to Perrin and sort of like confronting all these things, there's specific mention that she doesn't stop comforting Min. So she really does have some kind of affection for Min, and she wouldn't send her away lightly.
That stood out for me, and I think it's because Min has been telling her for a long time already about her viewings. And perhaps she knows that Min had seen her as one of Rand's wives.
Yes.
Yeah, well, she knows that she's in love with Rand.
She understands.
I
know why you're upset. It's not because of the Dragon Reborn. It's because this man that you have now come to realize
and
you
that's
love.
why Min threw her little chirp at Lan. Because I've been now, and someone knows something about me. So therefore, I'm just going to go piss Lan off. It's like, oh, you want a little message for Nynaeve there? Hey, Lan boy.
It's funny. Egwene does the same thing, or should I say Egwene does the same thing to Nynaeve in a later chapter.
Yes.
Like she prods her about Lan. A lot of jibes going around in this stretch.
You got to keep it busy when you're traveling on horseback and sleeping in the bushes.
Exactly.
Perrin says something that we're all thinking all the time. He says to Moiraine, why don't you just tell us in advance instead of like being cryptic after the fact? Like you've got all these plans and things, but you keep all of them secret. Just for once, can you just give us a heads up instead of just telling us to just accept these crazy things that are happening and saying that you knew it was coming or you expected something like this? And I share that sentiment. Like, just be more upfront with them. Like, they can handle more, but I guess she doesn't know that for sure. So.
I get her retort to him in that, saying that if I were to tell you everything I know around this, we'd sit here for a year. and then still I might not be right. So these puzzle pieces in her head, she's got tidbits of information and prophecies and targets and goals, and all of these things are slowly like clicking in together, but it's clicking in as it's going down.
But in the meantime, she is asking them to trust her, and she's acting and behaving in a way that is not exactly illicit.
Well, she's a nice guy. Like, come on. Like, she doesn't walk around carrying trust on her robe.
No, certainly not. Quite the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I do get, and I mean, you want to think that she would want to protect them better. It's been through. I mean, she gives to the point of sacrificing herself.
She does.
Yeah, she does the best for the boys. So, I mean, if she had the ability to pre-warn them, say, okay, by the way, I expect that you're going to be visited in your dreams, which is this other realm that we're not quite sure of, but we know of, but we don't know how it works. But I'm super, super certain that you're going to be visited by a rat-breaking, booze-peddling monster. So don't look at the rat.
Affinity for lace.
Don't drink the booze. Just steer clear of the man with the red mouth and the red eyes.
Ignore the rat, deny the booze, and get out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with Villy there.
She also doesn't really know what she's doing, right? I mean, she's trying to ride this bucking bronco of a Verin.
Bucking broncos. Like 3 of them. At least Matt is man down at the moment.
Yes. Yeah. It's a bit easier to control that way. But you can understand why the boys then on the other side are also afraid of the fact that the tower might want to control them to try and, steer things towards their ultimate goals. So it's like everybody is just like, if you imagine like a bucket of magnets all repelling each other and moving and shifting around each other, like constantly trying to fit into what they think is right and while not, ruining everyone else's plans. It's a balancing act for sure. Moiraine mentions how unreliable pigeons are, just to address one of my early criticisms of the story, like why are these people not communicating? And she says to him, you need to go because I can't spend the time trying to find someone with a pigeon that can go to the White Tower. And I also have no guarantee that any pigeon that gets to the White Tower will actually get to the Amelin seat. So she's basically admitting that their communication is very bad. And then the last thing I will say is that I am so glad that Perrin agrees to go find Rand, because what he says is Rand is his friend and he will still go after him. So I'm hoping that it's not him telling himself that and making that the reason that he's going, but that he is actually genuinely going because he does care for his friend.
Well, I think that the bond between him and Rand is only going to get strengthened by the same strife that Perrin is going through at the moment. And in the next couple of chapters, where he is so getting sort of being confronted by Gnome and all of that, we'll get to soon enough. He sees eye to eye with the fact that they both probably going to go insane.
Yes, there's a lot of parallels between what could happen to Perrin and what could happen to Rand. So yeah, he probably is sympathetic.
And I mean, Matt's already broken man down in a litter being dragged by a horse dead insane. Verin's got to stand together.
I think what is coloring my perception of the relationship between Rand and Perrin the whole time is that I know at some point in the future, or at least I think I know, because again, this is based on terrible memories, but there is a point where Rand and Perrin have a conversation and Rand has to manipulate Perrin into doing something. Which he does then go off and do. Like Rand sets him a quest of some kind.
File.
I don't think Rand is telling Perrin to go find Fail, but he might be telling Perrin, was it to broker the deal with Sean Chan or to, I don't know. I'm speculating here, but there is a almost like a betrayal of the trust between them because Rand is purposefully manipulating Perrin at some point later. Let's put another pin in that one and see what comes back.
Just edit it out, Moritz. Pretend it never happened. Too many pins.
No. So we should relabel the show as a pincast.
Pincast.
Okay. I think we've exhausted that one. So let's move on to the next chapter, which is chapter 7. And it's called The Way Out of the Mountains. So Moraine's obviously sent Uno and the Shanarans to Johanna, and the remaining group, which is now, she's sent Min to Tar Valon, so it's Lan and Moiraine and Perrin and Loial who are traveling together. And they are descending from the mountains and noticing that the weather is starting to get a bit warm. Perrin is aware of, a lot of wolves around again in the area. Lan's spending all of his time scouting, so he's hardly with him. So it's Loial, Moiraine, and Perrin sort of riding together and following these signs that Lan is leaving behind for them. He's out scouting all day and then leaving little bits of grass tied together, or a weed bent in one direction instead of another, little piles of stones, all that sort of stuff. Apparently he has hundreds of different signs that Moiraine knows how to interpret. So they never see him until they stop for the night. And they usually are stopping when it's starting to get dark, and Moiraine is the one that is setting a really, really hard pace and always wants to continue. And Lan is the one saying, we are going to spend so much longer on this trip if we break Mandarb's leg because I'm scouting in the middle of the night. There's only so much I can do in the dark, right? So we have to stop at some point. So he's the one always stopping. And Moraine's just saying, you got to go faster, you got to go faster. To the point where she actually jokes about if Lan can't go faster, if he's getting too old, maybe she should send him to Morel right now. He immediately arcs up about it. He's like, you will outlive me by many, many years, Moiraine Sedai. He's fiercely defending his position as the one that will die to save her and not the other way around. Perrin also muses on how he wishes they weren't carrying the dragon banner with him, because Moraine's actually got it with her, and he's not comfortable with it, despite him being the banner bearer in that battle at Falme. And for the most part, it's a pretty boring journey. And then there's a weird scene that I'm finding hard to place. Maybe you guys can tell me what you think about this, but it's the fishing scene.
I've got some talk about that.
Villy has something to say about fishing. What a surprise!
Weird. So they're lying on their bellies with their sleeves rolled up on the edge of the stream, right? And they're basically holding their hands near a ledge where they know some fish are sheltering underneath, and they're basically sneaking up on them and catching fish with their bare hands. This is something that people do in real life. That is not a made-up fantasy thing. People are able to do that sort of thing. And then Moiraine saunters over and she undoes her buttons on her sleeves and she rolls her sleeves up to do it as well, which is a very un-Moiraine like thing to do. Okay, cool, you want to try fishing as well? And then she, I can only assume, plays dumb because she pretends like she doesn't know what to do and immediately grabs a fish way bigger than any that Perrin and Loial have caught before. And they're okay, well,
a 5-pound trout. Do you know how big a 5-pound trout is?
No. How big is a 5-pound trout?
That's a 5-pound trout.
This does not translate to audio very well.
Billy's holding his hands about 2.5 feet apart.
It's a 50 to 60 centimeters of big trout under a little ledge that you're lying on. I mean, Robert Jordan wasn't a fisherman.
No. Well, I don't know that for a fact, actually. Nor were Perrin and Loial.
Yep, no.
Moiraine is the true fisherman. The fisherwoman.
She learnt it from Swan. It's all those years with Swan.
No, that sounds like a fisherman's story to me.
So anyway, Perrin and Loial are like, what? This is impossible. You've caught the biggest fish under this ledge. We're going to go upstream a little bit and go see if we can find something there. And then they try their hand at it a bit. I think they find another couple small ones, and they came back and Moraine's found, she's got 2 more, even bigger than the first. And I don't know what this is about. Is this Moiraine sort of trying to just remind Perrin of his place? Because she also makes him then clean the fish, which Perrin sort of grumbles about. Any true fisherman knows that you clean and gut your own fish, right? I mean, that's what you do. And we know that, but Moiraine is not going to do that. And while he and Loial is sort of grumbling about it, Loial saying, I'm sure she'll have us in the habit of listening to her well before we reach the next town. And then Lan pipes up suddenly right behind them. That's a good habit to get into. You should never be questioning the eyes. They're like, oh, sorry, Lan. You weren't meant to hear that one.
I, at the beginning, thought this was just a moment of levity, on the road, and she's finally letting her walls down and just trying to, have some fun in the seriousness, because there's no immediate danger. But what you say about her subtly reminding them, and then Lan coming up afterwards, get into this habit, and Loial's comments maybe this was a way for her to listen, don't underestimate me, remember your place.
Because Perrin was very he was bold in the previous chapter in the way that he was talking to her. And I mean, kings and queens don't talk to Aes Sedai like that. And here's this blacksmith from a small town. She did take it in her stride at the time, probably thinking, okay.
Oh, just wait until we get to a river. I'll show you guys.
Okay, but up until now, Perrin has also been pretty civilized around her. He hasn't really spoken. It was really
recently.
Rand that has been having the nightly arguments with her. And I mean, they've been up in the mountains now for months. Let's call it 2 months, 3 months, or whatever. Entire winter that they've been up there. And even in that introduction chapters, Perrin, out of Perrin's perspective, before the whole "we come, brother" side, it's like he had this in his mind, like, yes, just another argument between Moiraine and Lan. So maybe that's given him the confidence now to stand his ground. Like, it's okay, cool.
Maybe
he's not been struck by lightning in 3 months, and every single night they're having an argument about what needs to happen.
It's emboldened him.
And plus, running around barefoot on all fours with an axe, chopping off Madral's heads, has also maybe played a little bit into that. I mean, that's the territory of Lan.
His confidence.
So
one Taishar Manetherin from Lan, and suddenly he's arguing with
out of control. Out of control.
But Lan did rein him in again. Watch your tongue, blacksmith.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Anyway, so at the end of this bizarre little exchange, Perrin basically resolved to not let Moiraine shape his destiny. And they continue to travel, and as they sort of reach Gildan, they start moving through farmland. Perrin notices that he feels wolves in the area when they really shouldn't be that close to other humans, and he doesn't really elaborate on that. I don't know why the wolves would be coming closer to human settlements. Maybe they are Trollocs in the mountains eating all the game. I don't know.
I think he was feeling, because I put a pin in that as well. I think he was feeling known.
Well, he does, maybe. Because he doesn't engage with like ascending or anything like that, but he does say multiple wolves and they're all around.
Yeah, I suppose he does say that.
Maybe the wolves are there because of Gnome and him. Like, maybe two of these 2 legs.
Hey, 2 of these in one spot. That's a tremendous odd thing. But then again, there was also 2 of them when he was with Elias.
And there were wolves around.
Many.
Yes, they were. So a day after they've left the mountains, they reach the town Jarrah. And that's how the chapter ends.
Oh, right. I was just settling back in for the rest of the chapter. No, it's finished.
No, it's done. It's done.
That chapter was very
odd,
I must say.
There's a real tonal shift in the fishing scene with Moiraine, like the idea, like the image of Moiraine in her fine dress lying on her stomach with her arms in the river, catching huge fish with her bare hands as a Kyrian and noble woman
would do.
You know, like it's a lot of incongruency in that scene, but well, it gave me a chuckle.
The simplest thing is the best explanation is usually the simplest one. She was hungry and tired of eating skinny ass rabbits that's been smashed with a big ass rock against their head.
Hey, rabbit is good.
Well, they are 4 people. I mean, and one of them eats for 2, and Perrin eats probably for 3 as ravenous wolf Perrin now, and 1 rabbit, 2 rabbits that they've got to eat cold in the morning, and then back on horseback, like picking the little tidbits of rabbit bones.
Okay.
I've had rabbits. They're not that big. they're kind of bony and small, really.
Okay, so Villy's theory is that whole scene was just to show that Moiraine was hungry.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay.
Nothing deeper.
No, there's no other meaning.
The psychological one-up, plus I got a full belly.
All right, so where are we? Next chapter.
Mm-hmm.
All right, chapter 8, Jarrah. Take us through that one, Villy.
Yep. All right, so they coming out of the mountains, and roads has become easier, and they're getting into this town of Jarrah, sort of a Emansfield looking town, but more out of stone, I would imagine. Like empty and quiet, smoke still, fires burning, kind of like you would think something bad, and Perrin smells all the smells, but including that was like a very foul, odd smell that came and went just as quickly. And I put a pin in that because that one stood out for me. Then also, like, a lot of weaved arches which we now learn is wedding arches. And the green of the town village green is sort of trampled and well worn. So there's obviously been, and I thought reading this they had, oh well, it's spring, so they had their winter night Beltane festival. And no, but it's quiet because everyone turns out that they're so hung over from 2 days of weddings that had happened. And eventually they bump into Simeon. I'm going to go with that pronunciation of that word. I'm hopefully all right with that name. And the man's got a frog-looking appearance, but he's busy sweeping the stoop of the inn.
The stoop?
The veranda.
Porch.
Of the inn. Not this. Anyway. And Perrin, with all his smells, can smell the guy smells like sour wine. He smells hungover. He smells like a pub. But he's kind of like, oh dear, like he gets what he's dealing with there. And it's like, oh, you're looking for rooms. And he already at that stage had picked Moiraine as a Aes Sedai, but kept tight-lipped about it. Then he says, no, absolutely. He shouts for some boys to come, stable hands to take the horses. They'll get them food. He introduces them to the innkeeper, whose name is...
Irrelevant?
Irrelevant.
Mr. Irrelevant to you.
Harrod or something. Not Hodor.
No.
But it's sort of cool. We'll show you to the rooms, takes them through, shows them their best room for Moiraine. And Lan's like, I'll take the next one next door. And he's like, no, that's a servant's quarter. Like, he's don't care. It'll do. Thanks. Take it. And ironically, Perrin and Loel gets the room that Rand stayed in, which I take is just the night before. I'm getting a little bit of myself, but just to put it all into context. And Perrin then, obviously, he wanted to pipe up and ask a lot of questions already before, because in the introduction stage, Moiraine asks, like, have you been having a lot of weddings here? And obviously picking up on all the archers. And he's like, yeah, man, it started with one young woman just out of the blue going up to the blacksmith and saying to him, like, yep, this is it. We're getting married. And he took off his apron and said, we're doing it right now. It's no, like, this is happening now. And when that happened, it's kind of like everyone jumped on the bandwagon. So they've had nonstop weddings for the last 2-3 days. Rightly so, everyone is sleeping on this, which I think was probably a Sunday afternoon when they strolled into town, because they were also bloody hungover from the parties of the weddings. But yes, strange things has been happening in town. And parents trying to get information about Rand. That's after all what they're doing. They're on the trail of Rand. And eventually he asks Simeon in the room, have a red-headed, grey-eyed, tall, handsome-looking guy come through here playing flute. He's like, yeah, man, that dude pulled through here. He played the flute. Everyone jammed, a little bit crazy. He laughs and talks to himself in the corner. And then last night he just woke up screaming and said they're after him and just left east. Like a little bit of an oddball. It's like, no, we're after him. We know. We're looking for him. We're mates.
We're his friends, yeah.
We're his friends. And also it turned out the Children of the Light, a bunch of them pulled into the town as these weddings were happening and got very disjointed. Like one of them sort of just threw up, it's like, he's done with us. He's going.
Yeah.
He's done with the children. And others just gave up and said they're going back to Toman Head, to the plain. They're going to go and look and do their first initial quest. And others started infighting, and others were abusing women. It's like, it was just an odd sort of scene that was set there in this town at that stage. But he gets the confirmation that Rand was there. So he goes back, knocks on Moiraine's door, doesn't wait for a yes or enter, just knocks and walks in. And Land and Moiraine was standing at the fire. It wasn't lit yet. And he could see he was interrupting, but it's like, yep, Rand was here. She's like, you didn't have to ask. I could see that when we walked in here. Like, he's such a strong Verin. Look at what happened here. People just got married. They disbanded a group of Whitecloaks just from his presence, his ability to influence the pattern. And but in this exchange, and why he went to Moiraine was because Simeon asked him then if Moiraine, a woman like her, can help. Can she help his brother? His brother's ill. And he's like, well, what do you mean, woman like her? He's like, hey man, I might have a frog neck, but I know what's happening. I've seen them before. Once you've seen one, you can spot them. And no one else in this town has ever seen anyone bar the innkeeper, maybe at 20 miles or 20 leagues or whatever measure of units they're using. Several spans.
Several.
At least.
But it's like he really wants someone to help his brother. It's like it's gotten really bad. So he says, okay, cool, well, you stay here with Loel. Loel pins him down talking about trees, and he goes to the conversation with Moiraine. And Moiraine then sort of like, okay, cool, like, yeah, I'll go. We'll do this. And he gets Simeon, takes him down, or they walk down out the back through an alley, eventually into what appears to be a barn or a shed. And in there is a man locked in a cage, probably a stable with hay. And
it's like a makeshift thing. They said it looked like a hastily sort of put together wooden cage,
but a decent lock on it.
Yes, quite an intricate lock.
Yeah, it's a master locksmith or blacksmith's lock anyway. And he's like, no, well, he's been getting drunk and telling people he can talk to wolves. And what set him on the path is obviously the resemblance between Perrin's eyes and his brother's eyes, the yellow eyes. And so this guy, Simeon, is quite an observant person for a hungover innkeeper's hand. But yeah, he's just really into wanting to save his brother. So Moiraine asks him to open the lock. It's like, well, he doesn't have the key. Only the innkeeper's got the key. She just grabs the lock in her hand and click, it's open. Does some secret unlocking weave there. And he's like, whoa, like this is dangerous. And even Perrin is a bit wary because this man wolf was already growling and showing teeth. And his teeth's broken from the biting at animals. And it turns out he's already killed a cow in the village, the little town.
With his teeth.
So he's completely lost to this. But Moiraine backs him into a corner, or he backs himself into a corner. But either way, he's in a corner and she's right there with him, puts his head in her hands. And a couple of moments later, kind of like, no, there's no, and the way she explained it was quite elegant, that there's no roadmap in him to come from where he is.
Yeah.
Like it's all lost. He's got no restore point left in him.
Yeah.
So totally. it's kind of like sorry, but there's just nothing we can do. There's nothing that anyone can do. And she buggers off and closes the makeshift gate and puts the locks in, but doesn't latch the lock. And Perrin sort of sees a lot of this, and the inner dialogue with him was, this what's going to happen to me? I'm going to be locked up in a cage.
Of course.
And all of this really
is this my fate?
Is this my fate type of thing? And he's like, well, what do we do with him? And he's like, Perrin decides, take the lock off, open the gate, stand aside, clear the way for him. And it's like, well, do you want him to die in a cage, or do you want him to die free? Like, rather let him be free. Like his fate is sealed. He's no more man. Do you want him to just wither away in here, or just let him go into the mountains? So they open the gate. He very agilely runs on all fours. Like, still a weird...
Perrin takes note of like how adept he is at running on four legs.
And he bolts and he's out of there. And then it's like, oh shit, well, this is going to be a problem now for the innkeeper, Hiron, or whatever his name is. He's going to pull in here and see the locks open. It's like, no, just close it, lock it, let him figure it out. That will keep him busy for a while. And the stories come out like, you hear, people seen him turn into a real wolf with fur and all the rest. But it's obviously him just chatting to his mates that live out in the bush to hang around. So yeah, that is quite a big part for Perrin at that stage, where he's confronted really with the reality of what he can become, I suppose. Yeah, that's so he sets him free, and I think that's where it ends then.
How do the wolves take to Gnome? Like, because he seems batshit crazy, whereas the wolves don't come across as batshit crazy. So, like, he's not a man and he's not a wolf. So, how would they welcome him and say, "Okay, come on"?
He's become a full wolf again, not a crazy wolf.
He's also crazy. Moiraine says, actually, Perrin reaches out to Gnome.
Yes.
And what Gnome sends back to him is a complete, like, disarray of totally unrelated sendings.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So even in the wolf communication, Gnome comes across as completely all over the place.
Yeah.
So he isn't just a wolf.
Yeah, it was like he'd bite him in the neck, bite him on the hamstring.
Yeah. Just like random sendings.
Okay. I kind of thought by myself, like, what would a wild wolf do if you lock him in a cage? Like,
if you think of how the level at which Perrin can communicate with the likes of Hopper and the other wolves, like he is, I mean, it's translated into English, obviously, and I understand the sendings are all about feelings and all that sort of stuff, but he's having like what we would term a conversation with a wolf, where it seemed it was impossible for him to do with Gnome.
All right. So he is batshit crazy.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering if he's out there in the wild now that they've let him free, will he join the wolves or is he just going to be on his ace? Because the wolves won't accept
the
him.
Wolves, I mean, we're speculating, yeah. We never hear from Gnome again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the wolves might accept him as a crazy wolf, or they might like just leave him alone because he's one of them, but too crazy to actually join a pack.
Yeah.
Who
I'm
knows?
worried about Gnome.
Give me a spoiler there. At the final battle, does the wolves pull in and fight along Perrin with the final battle?
They certainly do. And there's Gnome. In
and
between
like
them all.
That would be a great little tidbit if in the show, when they hit the final battle, Gnome comes charging out there on all fours, eloquently like this creature of the night.
No teeth left.
No teeth left, but he's still gnawing at hamstrings with the wolves.
Gumming a Forsaken.
Oh, gross.
Oh, that would be great.
Did you guys also like have to sort of like I was taken aback by Lan's reaction to Perrin letting out that Simeon knows Moiraine is Aes Sedai. Lan sort of like gets a dangerous look in his eye, and Moiraine looks at him and says no. And then he stands down. Lan was going to go kill him.
I don't think Lan was going to kill him.
No,
I
totally.
think Lan was just going to go find out what this guy knew. And I mean, man, Lan's not a cold-blooded murderer. He wouldn't have just going to kill some random dude because he recognized an Aes Sedai. Look, it wasn't going to be pleasant for Simeon. That's for sure.
Lan wasn't going over to play a game of cards.
No. He was going to make him disappear.
Maybe tie him up and put him in a cupboard or something. But yeah, I was like, oh, fuck. Lan was going to go do something.
Yeah, that's also something that I've thought about as well. When everybody's like, oh, don't anger the Aes Sedai, and Rand's standing up to Moiraine, and then Perrin's doing it, and then Lan's like, watch yourself. And blah. What are they going to do? They're going to murder 3 Tavir and the Dragon Reborn for not falling in line? What are they going to do? Like, you can throw all the threats you want, but
cut them a bit.
These boys know that they're not going to do anything to them.
Just bleed them a little.
Yeah.
Hobble them.
Oh, Jesus.
In these couple chapters, my opinion of Lan has swung back to like, geez, do not fuck with this guy. He's not their friend at all. Like, he is a warder to Moiraine first and foremost, and a walking killing machine.
He has also realized that, and I mean, if your primary objective, and as Moiraine has put it to him in the Great Hunt at that Van Dien and Adelaia scene, that he is foremostly there to protect and die for Moiraine.
Yeah.
And he's got these young men who are crazy with the power, crazy with the wolves, and Massima. I mean, there's just fucking loons around them. So yeah, he's gotta definitely protect Moiraine, and he might be on a heightened sort of. Easily, Lan could have gone and slit that guy's throat. Like, no one will miss him till the morning, and we'll be gone.
But Lan is also like, he is. I mean, there's a sense of honor to Lan. You know, that you can't deny.
Where's the honor in where's the loss of honor in protecting Moiraine to die?
By slitting some innocent man's throat?
protecting her identity for one night doesn't necessarily require the death of an innocent.
But it did seem that he was going to do it. That picture's like, no, leave him.
I thought that.
Yep, that was my first, like, shit, Lan is going to cancel him.
Jody brought me back down to reality and reminded me that Lan is not an immoral, honorless, killing machine robot. He is from Malkir, Shinar, like he is bound to the White Tower, which is, ostensibly, quote unquote, good, so he might have stuffed Simeon in a sack and dragged him out to the woods and hung him from a tree.
But chucked him in a river in a sack.
Nothing serious.
Like Jody said, it wasn't going to be pleasant for Simeon, like you said, but he was going to go act, and it gave me pause for sure. Also, Simeon, while being distinctly toad-like, has a brother that is big and heavy-shouldered, much like Perrin. Which just, obviously, well, I say obviously, but it seems like a deliberate ploy to draw a comparison between Perrin and Gnome. I tried to entertain the idea of like whether this like affinity with wolves is something that can actually affect your physical stature. And that's exactly the line of thinking I went down. Like, was Elias a big guy? I mean, Elias was a warder, but he's not described as a large man with heavy shoulders.
He's very sinewy and muscular. But
he's old, so he could have sort of slumped over now, maybe. Because, maybe that's just a recessive gene in that world that kind of like, all right, you get this gene bonus, large shoulders, big burly guy, negatives, go crazy, like get yellow eyes and become a wolf.
Crazy like a wolf. I like that Simeon, who you also said, Villy, like in the beginning, he seems like a real, like, just a knuckle dragging mouth breather, right? Like just a toad man porch sweeper. But towards the end, he shows obviously some intelligence in figuring out that Moiraine is an Aes Sedai. He draws the connection between Perrin and his brother and asks him for help because of that. And then right at the end, when Perrin has freed Gnome, I can't remember how the conversation goes exactly, but Perrin is worried about whether Simeon might think that he is a dark friend or Shadowspawn or something like that because of his eyes or because of who's following Rand and all that sort of stuff. And he says to Perrin, a dark friend would not have been concerned about how my brother dies. And Perrin's act in setting Gnome free actually cements in Simeon's mind that they're okay, that they're good people.
Is it at this area where Simeon tells him that the Whitecloaks had also spoke of a dark friend with yellow eyes, and that's why they hid his brother in and locked him up there, because they were scared that the town would be associated with dark friends if they saw his brother with his yellow eyes. And in saying, and he spoke of a man, Perrin Ibarra from the Two Rivers, who's a dark friend with yellow eyes.
They named him.
And looking at Perrin at that time. And it's like, but I can't think of dark men that can treat my brother like this. Or a person that can treat us as a dark friend at all. Yes. So it was not just, which ban him.
Yeah, so Simeon showed some real critical thinking there, which was great, and some appreciation of Perrin's kind-hearted nature.
He's not a country bumpkin.
No. Okay. Anything else from that chapter?
No, we really squeezed every last drop.
We're squeezing hard, We're squeezing real hard.
Well, I could ask the question: why would Rand's presence as the Verin cause weddings?
Well, it just causes random things.
Ask RJ. It causes like the pattern just sort of like churns unnaturally around where Rand is. So where he's going, later in the books you hear ad nauseum about people that tripped on a banana peel and hit their head and died, where every other day they would have been fine, and someone falling from a roof and landing on their feet just because Rand passed through the city. You are constantly reminded throughout the series, wherever Rand goes and weird shit starts happening, that this is just him being such a powerful Ta'veren, and the laws of physics seem to be defied wherever he goes. And it's just like, I think specifically weddings and the weirdness from the Whitecloaks is called out to show that it's like just anything. Like all of reality shifts around Rand wherever he goes.
Well, I suppose there's, in a small village where everyone knows everyone, what's going to happen? They're either going to kill each other or marry each other.
Yeah.
And I think the message that comes through is that either one of those things are equally as likely.
Yeah.
It could have been something way worse, but this time it happened to be weddings.
Phew.
Yeah, bullet dodged.
Yeah.
Depending on who you're marrying, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to chapter 9. Jody, why don't you take us through Wolf Dreams?
What? Another chapter about dreams, you say?
Weird. Wolves?
Weird. Wolves' dreams? So Perrin's snuck back into his room where his food is waiting for him and getting cold. He's not in the mood to eat at all. This whole gnome situation has rattled him something fierce. And he doesn't want to sleep. He doesn't want to do anything. So he heads over to Moraine's room. And the knock on the door, I wrote here, is like, I've been expecting you, Mr. Bond. It's typical. He knocks on the door and she says, come inside, Perrin. She already knows it's him. And yeah, we see a little bit more of a softening from Moiraine and from Perrin as well. So he wants to know more about his wolfiness now, and if he's going to obviously end up like Gnome. And Moiraine has very little knowledge, and what she does is actually gleaned from her little visit with Van Dien and Adelaus, where she found a scrap of paper while looking for something else. I mean, isn't this always the way of things, you know? Looking for something else, and you stumble upon a little treasure. So she was just with them the other day. I suppose this is now like 6 months ago, whenever it was. And he's very confrontational, like, tell me what you know. I need to know everything. But eventually softens towards her, like I said. And what info she does have is mostly about the world of dreams. So she says specifically, world of dreams. We're talking about the article she uses here, not the world of dreams, as if she knows what it is. Does Moiraine have no idea about Telanriod?
Or she knows that maybe there are multiple worlds of dreams. I don't know. Maybe
I don't think so.
One Telanriod. What they introduce later in the story is the concept of a dream shard.
Yeah.
Where someone constructs a reality in a dream world. So, don't know.
This is another thing that I've been meaning to talk about, because there's a talk of the wolf dream and the world of dreams as if they're two separate things, but they're not. They're the same thing. I think there's only one world of dreams, kind of like Shadesmar, kind of that like connects all the different worlds, below the surface. So, yeah, anyway, that's what I think of this, because just that she says a world of dreams and not the.
I cannot remember a specific time where Moiraine is ever the one consulted on how the world of dreams or the wolf dream works. It's always the Aiel wise ones or the wolves themselves, dream walkers.
But shouldn't
it's
she
not
know
Moiraine's strong suit. She knows of it because they were Aes Sedai dream walkers. Anaya knows about it. She and Anaya are friends. I mean, Anaya is talking to Egwene about it all the time.
But they don't know that. Maybe they don't know that these dream walkers are walking in the world of dreams. They're just maybe in your dreams, that the ability to enter your mind. Yeah, that's what they think it is.
Maybe the Browns know.
Maybe the Browns know, but surely they would have shared that over hundreds and hundreds of years in the White Tower. I don't know. It just seems like Moiraine doesn't know what the world of dreams is, and that's confusing to me. I thought she knew everything.
She's not from the Brown Archer.
She's only concerned with her Blue Archer business.
Remember, the Brown Archer knows a great deal of very things.
Yes, but they know a great deal and they keep it to themselves? Surely they would share it with the rest of the White Tower. They're not reds or blacks.
They're not doing PowerPoint presentations about the world of dreams. They're probably writing it in a book and sticking it in a library for anyone that's interested to go in.
Every Monday there's a meeting in the Great Hall, PowerPoint presentations. What we've learned this week.
Just in the Slack that day. Oh, guys, we figured something out.
Yeah. Well, look, if they have their communication is notoriously bad, so True. Possibly. So, but Perrin eventually and reluctantly asks Moiraine to help him. Like he is terrified that he's going to lose himself to this, so he eventually softens towards Moiraine and asks, but she's powerless really to help him. She can't do anything about it, but she does promise, whatever she can do, she will. He asks her about shielding the dreams or shielding his dreams. She's like, no, it doesn't work like that. First of all, Lan has his, dreams shielded because he's my warder. And she doesn't need another warder. And he's like, he's in a monologue at that point. He's like, Jesus, imagine that wolfiness and being trapped with an Aes Sedai my whole life. Just kill me now.
Yeah.
But the problem with him is that she can ward dreams so that outside influences don't get inside. But the problem with him is it's from the inside. It's from inside his own head that he's going in. So this is just like literally nothing she can do. So he's like, all right, well, thanks for nothing. No, I'm joking. So she goes back to his room. And he's afraid to sleep, obviously, because the dreams will come. So he chucks his blankets on the floor and he opens all the windows, doesn't light a fire. He's trying to make himself as uncomfortable as possible, which helps absolutely nothing because within seconds of lying down on the floor, he's asleep. And guess where he is? Back in the world of dreams. And he's in this long hallway with high ceilings in this dimly lit area where we can't tell where the light is coming from, the whole shebang. And Hopper is there. And he's like, what? Hopper tells him, danger, run. And he's like, wait, no, Hopper's dead. So the wolf dream or the world of dreams is wolf heaven. All wolves go to heaven eventually, and this is where it is. So he's taking the advice of Hopper and he starts running through the halls. And one of these intersections through all these halls, he meets this strange man who's dressed very weirdly, has got a strange accent. Now, this has always intrigued me, this man. So I went online and looked on forums and wikis and things like that. And there's not really any consensus. Some people say he's a Sharan. Other people say he's just, maybe from Ibu Dar or from someplace like that has a weird accent. I can't remember, somebody in Randland, some country where they dress like this, because he's dressed in like a bright yellow breeches. Like he's almost as garish as a tinker kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But he's a high lord. He's some sort of lord because he's very pompous, and he refers to Perrin as a peasant. So anyway, in my research online, he's nobody really. It's like a nothing comment.
Trapped in there, or is he also just in a dream and hanging around?
He's in a dream, and is somehow in his dreams he's slipped into the world of dreams. Like he's not in his own head anymore, and that's unfortunate for him because the shadows reach down from the ceiling and rip his skin off in one foul swoop, splattering blood all over Perrin, which is pretty good. Like, I really thought that this guy in this hallway who dies in this way is significant, but apparently it's not. Just some random shit happening in the world of dreams.
Is he dead just in the dream there, or is he now?
No, he's dead. In one of the forums that I read, there was a comment like later on you read about a nobleman who was found skinned alive in his bedchambers. So it does come up later on that, I don't know how true that is. There wasn't any reference to what book or what chapter that was in.
So maybe it was a dark friend that just didn't do what he was supposed to do. And then there's like, oh, well, let's get him in here and punish him tonight.
No, throughout the story, you read about people that appear in the world of dreams purely by being unlucky and dreaming themselves into it. Like, there are normal people just from everyday life that appear there. There's no one is like drawing that one person in that we can tell about at all. It's not like a punishment necessarily, but they also put a lot of emphasis in how uncontrollable nightmares are. Because in the world of dreams later in the story, there are also nightmares that even dreamwalkers struggle to escape from.
And there's this thing about pulling people into the dreams, what you mentioned earlier about dream shards. And I think the only way you can pull somebody into Tel Anriod is through into a dream shard. Like when somebody pulls you into the world of dreams, it's not into the general world of dreams. It's into a specific subsection, subfolder of this, into a dream shard. And then creating a dream shard is a whole other skill that you got to learn.
And then later there's a dream spike, and there's...
I don't even remember that.
Shit. You don't?
Yeah.
Woo! Man, we are going to be educating ourselves big time.
Sure. I think I'll pay attention to my reading this time. Hopefully. So, so this guy gets his skin ripped off in one fell swoop, and he's still alive, lying on the floor, screaming before he bleeds out, obviously. And his clothes are still on. Like, whatever ripped his skin off, ripped it out like underneath, like you pull a tablecloth out underneath plates and glasses kind of thing. Yeah. And his shriek is echoing down the hall. So things are not looking good. So Perrin's this entire time just trying to wake up. He knows he's in the dream world. And he's freaking out. He's punching walls, trying to wake up and just get out of there because he keeps hearing danger. And Hopper again telling him, run, get out of here. This is great danger. So he continues running and he runs straight into Lanfear's room. Just take these guys. They really just get themselves into situations. So he runs into this room, and there's Lanfear. And this is what I'm talking about, the warning. If you see a beautiful woman, run. But he doesn't. He stops and has a look at her. Well, I suppose. Wouldn't we all? But I can't blame the guy. She is very surprised to see him there. She's like,
yes.
where did you, what the, and then she says, you will ruin things that you don't even know about or something like that, but you're going to ruin things.
Does she know, and has she seen Perrin?
Yeah, she offered him that glass of wine when he was in the ornate golden armor with a lion head.
Yes.
In the previous episode.
Yeah, because she knows. She's like, what are you doing here? How did you get here? You know, she recognizes him, but she's surprised to see him there. And he's going to ruin some plans. That's what Verin do. They ruin forsaken plans. So get used to it. She is, of course, the master of the world of dreams. So she disappears, takes the whole room with her at the same time. And the way they describe it is it flattens and then turns into a sinuous white line, just like traveling does.
Yeah.
Does she travel in the world of dreams and travel the whole fucking room out of there?
Maybe. It's a very similar description.
Very similar description. That's what I'm thinking. So anyway, she's gone, and he's standing on the edge by the doorway where the floor just suddenly ends in endless blackness. And he's like, whoa, fuck. Just get back up, get out of there, because, you know, you fall down there, you'll never stop falling.
Let me just translate "oor fuck" for our listeners, and that is "oh fuck."
I think, sorry, that just slipped out, but I'm sure people get it by now. He hears again, run, great danger, more than all the Neverborn. And of course, Perrin is like, Jesus, that got to be bad.
That's a lot of danger.
That's a lot of danger right there. And Hopper eventually is like, this guy's a moron. He's not going to leave. So Hopper kills him in the dream by lurching for his throat and gets him back out of the world of dreams. And Perrin sits upright on the floor in his room in the inn again, grabbing for his throat, thinking that he's going to find blood. But his throat is fine. But he is actually covered with the blood of the guy that had his skin ripped off. And there's like a scene where he gets up and he looks in the mirror and he's like, oh shit. Oh no, there's no mirror. It's olden days.
He's washing in the wash basin and the water comes out pink.
And
Yes, exactly. So he sees the blood and it's over his clothes and everything. So he just like rips off the clothes and washes himself clean. And that is kind of gross. I get it. So then again, you know, he's just like, oh, Simeon could throw this shit away. Simeon could deal with this. Burn the clothes. Then we end with him and we jump over to Rand. Because now, I think this is the first time we see Rand since his little escape, his little Houdini act. And he is huddling under trees like a madman in the night, being hunted by dogs. Now, I specifically think that these are not dark hounds that are hunting him.
Oh, really?
Why do you say that?
Because dark hounds are notoriously difficult to kill. They are not affected by the one power. And they don't turn up that often. And he kills them with the one power.
With balefire.
Are you sure? The way they describe the dogs is not the way that dark hounds are described. But anyway,
so
we'll get into that.
I don't know. I'm just gonna be devil's advocate here. But
yes, please.
Is dogs just rolling around the bush in the area, howling at each other, hunting Rand?
No, if they have a master, somebody is controlling them to hunt Rand, or using dogs to hunt him.
You mean dark friends sending their dark hounds?
Yeah, dark hounds are not controlled by dark friends.
Okay. Or do they have like Alsatians at their bidding pool?
Let me pose this to you. Rand's wound is throbbing, as it does in the presence of other Shadowspawn.
Oh snap! You got him.
I mean, his wound could be throbbing from anything.
Maybe it's the master of the hounds, the master of the hounds that's Shadowspawn or whatever. I don't know. Possibly I could be very wrong. It's just the image I have in my mind of what a dark hound is does not match the description of this book.
That dog was the white teeth in the night and he was big ass neck like a mastiff. That's exactly what a dark hound is.
And a dark hound is the twisted souls of dead wolves, not mastiffs.
Yeah, but they are also described as having thick necks and big heads and being, as tall as a man's waist. And
I don't know. That's not. I'll have to go back to that because I just watched a video recently on YouTube about this, about like the top 10 most dangerous Shadowspawn, and like number 1 was Darkhounds. Like, and there's just so few of them. You don't see them that often in the series because they're so overpowered.
We used to think that Madral is pretty up there. and Perrin just beheaded one with an axe while barefoot in his underwear. So the idea that a darkhound is being sword balefired to death here is not beyond the realm of the story.
I don't think Rand is using his sword. Is he?
No. He's just shooting it out of his hand.
It channels like a white light of...
Yeah.
Stabs him with the
lightsaber. But that's just what balefire looks like. Balefire, when everybody channels it, it looks the same, like a white hot beam or bar of light that shoots from your hands.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's huddling under those trees, and there's one of those dogs attacks him, and he balefires the fuck out of it. He knows nothing about channeling, but he knows balefire. So is this Luz protecting him? Now, okay, maybe this does come back to them being darkhounds, because the only way to destroy them then would be balefire. And he doesn't know balefire, so it must be Luz in reactionary mode, trying to protect his ass. Darkhounds. Like, darkhounds, the only thing we can do is balefire. You better learn this weave quickly. So
check this trick out.
Yeah, it's adios, dog.
And then also the way that they communicate it afterwards, like howling from all different directions.
Any dog can do that, right?
Wolves, dogs.
He got balefired. Like, normal dogs won't know that my mate just got axed over here.
No, they're hunting him and calling to each other.
You've actually made a point for them being darkhounds, like that idea that Therin recognizes that they're darkhounds.
That's what I said now.
To balefire,
yeah. Because now you've made me think about this a bit more, like because obviously then how did Rand learn balefire? It must be Therin, but if Therin is pushing balefire on him instead of fireball or lightning or something, it must be for a reason. So maybe these are darkhounds. That was you've changed my line of thinking.
Does Rand mention that he's killed some of these already in this night?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this is only the second one he kills is in this scene. But we get the feeling that he's been hunted for a long time. And now he's got this, I am no easy meat. Now he's like, like I figured out how to do this, how to channel and how to control it and how to defend myself. He's like, if you want to hunt me, come. I am no easy meat is what he thinks. And then we hear the dogs howling at each other in the distance. And the hunt continues, and that's how the chapter ends.
Did you guys also think that Rand is without his horse?
Yes, he seems on foot. Maybe the Darkhounds got him.
I think I read somewhere in my horse research around Stepper and Stayer.
I'm sure you did.
I think Red was. That's probably why I tripped over into assuming it's Darkhounds, because I think I read that Red was killed by a pack of Darkhounds in the Dragon Reborn. That's a person running some obscure Horses of Wheel of Time blog, right? So like that's by no means the Bible, but all signs to me lead to Darkhounds. But that is a totally uninformed opinion, right? That is just me going on my memory of what these terrible hounds could be. Don't they also like melt the ground where they walk, and their saliva is poisonous, can kill you at the touch, and like there's all kinds of insane
they're nasty animals.
Attributes.
Nasty shadow spawn. But then again, there's things up in the blight that is nastier than them, I reckon. Worms and pack of worms and what else?
And water serpents with hands growing out of their back.
Regular run-of-the-mill stuff.
Was there anything else in that chapter, Joe?
No, that's about it that I found.
Rand just saying, I'm no easy meat.
I just found, that balefire is considered one of the few things known to reliably destroy any kind of darkhound.
Any kind of darkhound? So
now that opens up even more questions.
Okay, new podcast idea.
Creation. Darkhounds are created by twisting the soul of a wolf. And the wolves refer to them as shadow brothers.
Shadow brothers. Well, there are also many types of wolves, so we've now learned. There's the mountain wolves that's more shaggy, so maybe he's confronting mountain darkhounds at the moment. Or the more placid, lowland darkhound. And then you've got the more aggressive swamp darkhound. The one from Sherlock Holmes Darkhound, that one there.
Oh, that's from the Baskervilles.
Yes.
Okay. My notes for that chapter. pretty slim.
Yeah. Pretty much covered it all, I think. We had a little discussion there about dark hounds. I was so convinced that there was not dark hounds because now that while I was reading the stuff here, I did a bit of Googling and I saw a photo or an image of something and that's the last image I saw of dark hounds, which is looks like a greyhound. And that's probably what tainted my perception in this chapter. It was just like some fan art. I was like, oh, right. But could definitely be dark hounds.
Certainly not canon. I mean, there's a lot of Wheel of Time art out there, including the art in that white World of Wheel of Time book. That is
bad.
I don't know how anyone decided that's. I mean, hey, I am no artist, right?
Yeah.
Kudos to those people for painting them, but a lot of it is real left field stuff that I do not hold as canon at all. Sorry, Harriet, I do not agree. Anyway,
yes.
My notes for that chapter were the two friends are obviously Adelaus and Van Dien. Rand side aching because proximity to Shadowspawn. No horse. Balefire.
There you go. Why did we spend 20 minutes talking about it? You could have just said that.
Why is Rand running around like Perrin, Fane, and a madman without his horse?
He's being hunted and he doesn't have a horse.
But where's Red?
Killed. Dead.
Been chowed. Red is dead.
Red's dead.
Red's dead, baby.
Is that Pulp Fiction? Zed's dead.
Zed's dead.
Okay. Chapter 10. Oh, it's my chapter. Chapter 10 is called Secrets. Now, for the first time in a long time, we step away from our beefy boy and we join Egwene, Nynaeve, Elaine, Verin, Mat, and Huron as they slowly approach Tar Valon. Egwene can almost make out the White Tower, but she had spotted Dragonmount on the previous day, so they are getting quite close now. She's still thinking about never being collared again and never losing her freedom again. She's obviously still super raw from the Adam, not physically but emotionally, and this actually drives some of her behavior later in this chapter. Because they've been traveling for a while now, right? It's been all winter, so basically 3 months they've been traveling, and she's still like, this is just a random thought she's having. I will never be trapped again.
It's totally got PTSD or something.
100%. I mean, it comes up throughout the books. She's thinking about Anaya and further studying her dreams because she's been having these dreams about Rand, being chased by something or someone. And she catches herself looking forward to seeing Galad at the White Tower and quickly tries to snuff out that thought. We learn that they've been traveling for a whole season because she's seeing signs of spring. And when Nynaeve suggests that she should be keeping watch instead of daydreaming and muttering to herself, Egwene hits back with... keep saying Egwene, and I'm going to keep saying it. She hits back with a question about how do you think Moiraine is treating Lan? And that's that sort of that jab we were talking about before, and she immediately regrets saying it. It doesn't come naturally to her.
No.
Because Nynaeve has a reaction to it as well. She has a sharp tug of her braid. And when Egwene asks Nynaeve if she thinks Rand is all right, Nynaeve is quick to blame their misfortune on Moiraine. She quickly finds any excuse to turn into ever since that bloody Moiraine arrived, our lives have been in complete disarray.
Yeah. Rand is the dragon reborn because of Moiraine. Yes.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah, Nynaeve, well-known and famous rational person. Nynaeve then mentions something not feeling right. She's got the ability to talk to the wind, and she feels something that feels like a brewing storm coming up, but the weather is totally fine. They don't see any signs of any weather. Egwene worries about something impeding them from actually delivering Mat to the tower because Mat's been really, really sick. He's in a litter slung between two horses, and he hasn't roused in 3 days, so he's been unconscious for 3 days. And we read a little bit further that he's actually got the horn of Valir at his feet, just under a cloth or something.
Yes.
Just sort of dumped it in his litter, which seems irresponsible. Huron also looks troubled. He senses something is amiss. His hunches had been right in the past. Twice already he's had a hunch. The first time they sort of played it down, and then the innkeepers and some people in the town they were staying in tried to murder them in their sleep. And the next time Huron said, I think there's trouble, Verin's like, okay, we're out of here. Let's go.
Saddle up.
and he's thinking that now, like he thinks he looks troubled. Egwene thinks that like when Matt was still well, the two of them, Huron and Matt, had sort of joked together and played cards and stuff. And now he seemed really worried, so that's given her pause. He mentions when she asked him that the previous day he saw the tracks of 20 to 30 horses, so riders, and he doesn't know who that could be. So it's got him a little bit worried, and he can smell something as a bit strange, but off, which seems to be a theme for people with olfactory talents like Perrin, who smelled the Whitecloaks, and now the Whitecloaks are also raising Huron's hackles a little bit. Pause there quickly. Villy, you said to put a pin on the smell that Perrin came through Jarrah. Did you also think that was Paden Fane?
Yes. Like, for some reason, I thought that it might be, but he's busy working his magic all the way back in Enter, isn't he?
Could he in Amedissia?
No, he's in Amedissia. He's with the Whitecloaks now.
And Jarrah is on the border of Amedissia.
Potentially.
But I mean, would he have come to Jarrah through the Mountains of the Mist?
I don't think he would have. He would have,
because
he was at Plain,
Folmay,
he would have gone
right?
over the. Yeah, he would have gone over the.
He would have avoided the mountains completely and just gone straight to Amedissia. But the severity of the smell that Perrin mentions there immediately made me think of Fane. But could it have been just the Whitecloaks? Like I was just
could
saying,
it
like
be the Darkhounds?
Hey, not a bad thought. To Perrin, that would probably be an especially offensive scent.
So maybe that was, we wanted to get back into that. So Jody, that's even more fodder than there to blast your normal dog.
I've already changed my opinion, and I agree with you guys. Stop hounding me.
Stop dark hounding you.
Stop dark hounding you.
Okay, unpause. So Elaine joins Egwene and Nynaeve, and they're sort of talking about just how much trouble they're really going to be in when they get back to the tower. They think about what could happen if they're attacked on the way, and Nynaeve says she'll do what needs to be done. She knows that Verin is bound by the oaths, but she's making no bones about the fact that she's not going to hold back, which is funny because Egwene is actually the one that lashes out first. But Nynaeve is sort of maybe she's giving Egwene, in this comment, she's giving her a bit of leeway to just act. Not consciously, obviously, but maybe when Egwene is faced with that situation, she subconsciously remembers that Nynaeve said she will directly contradict the oaths if she has to, because she hasn't taken them yet. And while they are sort of talking about this, riders do approach, and they turn out to be a group of Whitecloaks, and they sort of block the road and they fan out in front of them, sort of, making very little pretense about their intentions. They are quite clearly barring their way. And then they talk, and Verin is trying to talk around them, and they're sort of like throwing their weight around and sort of insisting that, or intimating at least that they would be, if the women don't come clean, they're just going to take them back to their camp and sort of basically arrest them. So Verin tells the others, look, just stay out of this. I'll do all the talking. But when it seems like her talking is not really going to be effective enough, Elaine decides to throw her title as the daughter heir of Andor out there as like a deterrent for them. And they sort of just laugh at that, and they go, I think you might find that Morgase is not so amenable to Aes Sedai anymore. Exactly. Yeah, the witches, as they like to call them. And the comment and his response only seems to embolden their leader, who we find out at the end of this chapter is Dane Bornhold. So Bornhold is just, when he seems emboldened by this exchange, Egwene decides to lash out, because she is just so deathly afraid of being taken captive, whether it's with an Adam or by the Whitecloaks. I mean, she's been caught by the Whitecloaks before. She was the subject of a fair bit of manhandling by Child Bayar at the hands under the instruction of Gia from Bornhold. So she channels, and she causes like a fountain of earth to erupt near one of the horses, or one of the horsed Whitecloaks, and this causes the horse to obviously buck the rider, and he hits the ground, and he hasn't even hit the ground yet, and she's turning to the next one, and she starts channeling and to do the same. So she's purposefully not causing damage to them. She doesn't want to use the power as a weapon, but she is using it to unhorse them and to cause confusion, and she notices immediately Nynaeve and Elaine are copying her weaves, which is cool. Like, all right, cool. They now also know how to do this thing. They just need to see her do it, and it's like it's a through line of all of these, the girls and Rand. Like they learn extremely quickly, out of necessity and out of probably being innately adept at using the one power.
To Verin.
Yes. So Verin is aghast. Her eyes are bulging, like she is just not okay with what is happening here. And when all the Whitecloaks are in disarray, and all the men except their leader, except Bornhold, have fled, he's sort of left there with these women now by himself, and he sort of just stands there and he goes, "Go ahead and kill me like you did my father." But Verin just ignores him and just starts chastising the girls. She is making them understand in no uncertain terms that if they even ever get to Aes Sedai, they would never be allowed to live this down, and blah, 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 blah. Just making a big deal about not using, which is pretty rich for someone that has, joined the Black Argent.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're saying about, like, what are we going to do about this Bornhold now, Verin maintains that she could have talked her way around him. But I don't think Verin is really, she's not privy to all the information we as readers are. She thinks that she can talk her way around Bornhold, but I think that his built-in hatred of the Aes Sedai, based on the lies that child Byar carried from Folmay, he was already a Whitecloak. He was already irrational, right? Just this news about his dad. Verin doesn't know that he had this information. So she thinks that she could have spoken, talked their way through it, and that he was only posturing and that sort of thing. But I don't think that is the case. I think he was crazy enough to actually try and do something about it. So in this chastising, Egwene eventually says, "Okay, fine, I'm sorry." She apologizes to Bornhold. She thinks about how glad she is she hasn't taken the 3 oaths, because she's not sorry. So she's straight up lying.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. She even offers to him, like, "I'm sure Verin Sedai could heal your bruises," and he is just like, there's no effing way that's happening. And in fact, he draws his sword, and he's livid. He's going on about his dad, right? So Verin continues to ignore him and leads them just around him. So he's standing there raving at them, and Verin's just not even acknowledging his presence, and they ride around him and continue on their way. And he shouts after them, shouting, "Remember my name. I will make you fear my name." Which I don't think he actually ever achieves, because A, Whitecloak, who the fuck cares about them, and B, he's just self-entitled because he was the son of Jeff and Bornhold. Like, he was already a twit in Balon, and things don't seem to have gotten any better.
Was this the same one that Matt got with the barrels?
Yes, exactly. I should mention also that when Egwene was apologizing to Bornhold, she said that we've been on a long ride all the way from Toman Head, and that's when Bornhold makes the connection, and he says,
like, "You killed my dad.
You killed my father. You were at Folmay." Yeah. So he's not going to be reasoned with in any way. But it is, again, like, you just, when Egwene says it, when she says we've ridden from Toman Head, when you read the words Toman Head, you feel Verin's disappointment, and just like, "Egwene, what are you doing? Shut up!" Like, these kids just do not shut up. They don't know when to shut up.
I actually said "shut up, Egwene" out loud when I read this, and Christina was next to me on the computer, and she was just laughing. She's also read these chapters.
But then, so they keep riding, and Bornhold is shouting in the background. And as they finally approach Tar Valon, Verin says to them, "Now you must truly be on your guard, because now the real danger begins." And that echoes the thing that Min said to Perrin earlier, when Perrin was like, "At least you'll be safe in Tar Valon," and Min is like, "Are you insane? That place is a viper's nest. Like, that is not the safest place to be." There's powerful allies, but powerful enemies as well.
They should surely now know that. It's not like, "Oh, we're home, we're safe." The last time they were there, they were kidnapped by one of the big people.
They were summoned from their room by a Black Argent member into the hands of the Short Chat. So,
it's kind of like, all right, I'm coming back here. Where's that viper that took us out of here in this viper nest? So,
I'm interested to see everything that plays out here now. Like, what is the story? Like, who knows about what has happened to Liandrin? Has she disappeared? Has she tried to sort of embed herself in the tower again? Let's read and find out.
Yeah, that's what we'll do.
But did you guys have anything else to say about that chapter? I mean, not a lot going on there. Matt is sick. They're almost there.
I do have something to say. Now, there's a point where Huron gets all like nervous or uncomfortable, and he rides up ahead to go and join Verin. And there's a comment by one of the girls saying, like, in the beginning, he was very reluctant to hang around Verin. Now, is that because he can smell the violence on her? Surely, if she's Black Aja, she must have been ordered or made to do something very un-Aes Sedai, and he can smell it on her. He can smell the violence, maybe. Because he was very uncomfortable with her at the beginning when they joined in. And he's like, he can smell something's wrong with this woman.
No, that's something that I didn't even think about.
Yeah, I thought he was just sort of like deferential to an Aes Sedai, but that is certainly something that would track. Might be exactly that.
Put a pin in that for callbacks next week or next time or whenever.
Okay, should we do the last chapter here? Chapter 11, Tar Valon.
That's it. They have reached the island where Tar Valon is on. They've seen the mountain, and they're entering one of the 4 towns, or what would you call them? The bridge towns. There's several bridges crossing into the tower. This one is called Verin. And then we have an introduction of a new map in the book, which is quite nice in the sense that you can see what's around the area. But man, I've after that introduction where someone called it Vagina Island.
Was it the boys from the Black Tower podcast?
The Black Tower.
Totally the Black Tower podcast.
Yes, and I was like, since then, I was like, oh man, this is now Vagina Island for me.
Well, since we're talking about it, I did take note of the fact that the map orientation is weird. If you take a look at the direction of north,
yes,
it's not up.
Book
Yes, it is like it's pointing at like 2:00. So the orientation of the city was chosen specifically to be, 12:00 to 6:00, which does make it that much more evocative.
Yes, it's a good. I mean, I don't read fantasy books for anything but fantasy, but
but now you're getting a bit of anatomy thrown in.
Yes. All right, let's move on from the because I got a big note here about the map. I didn't draw anything. I just wrote map.
That is the most useless map in the world.
Yes.
It did show. Sorry, one last thing about the map. It did show where the Ogier Grove is in relation to the tower. So I could paint that little picture in my mind a bit clearer of like when the girls were led in there.
And also for later on, the North and the South Harbour, which is also quite instrumental for an event quite a bit later on.
Interesting. Now that you say that, and I know I'm digressing completely, but those harbours are not due north and due south.
No.
If you look at the orientation of the map.
No, they're
towards only slightly more north
and slightly more south.
Yes.
But yes.
It's much more suited to like a west and east harbour.
South, north, a northwest
directions,
northwesterly harbour,
northwest
and
harbour.
A southeasterly harbour.
That doesn't quite roll off the tongue, does it?
No, it doesn't. But anyway, the north and the south harbour. Let's get in this.
I'll let it go.
Little town is red roofed, red brick. It's got a little air around it, but it's had its shit in the days. It was burnt down in the Hawking days. It was burned down in the War of 100 Years and plundered. It was the Trolloc Wars, the Aiel War. And there's been a lot of times, but they've always rebuilt it because obviously the proximity to the tower, there's always going to be something going on there. They more soldiers, like all of a sudden there's a lot more sort of ranked soldiers, all of them with their white fang of Tar Valon. What is it? Teardrop of
the flame?
Fang, the flame.
Close. You had some of the letters.
Yeah, I got some of them. And they much more regimented, like, lancers, wide-rimmed archers, full quivers of archers. They're all at the ready. So things, and I think there's a lot of disturbance happening with the Children of the Light in the area. They've been hitting these small towns and trying to cause a mock. And Verin stops as they want to cross the bridge and sort of has a moment just asking the soldiers about the disruption there has been with the Children of the Light. Has there been a bunch? They're like, yeah, no, well, the children's always around. So we push them back when they get a little bit out of control. They eventually go over this almost like White Bridge. I imagine all these bridges very thin, very elegant, very just an arch. No pillars or anything. It's like a suspension bridge without the suspension weirdness. So yeah, they move over the bridge into Tar Valon and enters through the wide open gates where 20 men can stand abreast. And it's like again, Egwene is all like in awe at the city, in the fountains. It's just like a pretty little place. And they eventually get to the tower grounds, and Verin veers them off, and they go in through a side gate where it's also open, quick access. She speaks to two of the guards that's at, and then one runs off, and they go through with the horses to a stable, and she says, "Look, you girls just now, shut the fuck up. Like in no other word, just don't say anything. Like don't say anything. Just be quiet."
The Whitecloaks were a test, and you failed, and now you're in the viper's nest. So hold your bloody tongues.
Like seriously, just shut it. So they get, and Miriam Sadai has been summoned with. She pitches Sheriam.
Miriam as well.
A new Aes Sedai of my creation.
So Sheriam was summoned, and she arrives with 3 accepted. And she's like, okay, cool. Well, there's apparently a litter with a man that they need to take. So organizes that. And she's like, oh, yeah, you've brought the runaways back. And immediately Egwene just pipes up, I did not run away. Like, just want to argue, like typical stubborn Eamon's fielder in her. And Verin has had enough. And she's just like, what is the polite word she used in bold caps? I just wrote it at shut the fuck up.
Be silent.
Be silent.
Yes.
Like,
in capital letters.
Like, this is the hardest instruction they've ever received from Verin. Like,
you don't read capitalized text in the books unless it's the Dark One speaking.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So Robert Jordan really wants you to know that she was being very angry.
Yeah, she was fucking furious. Like, just shut up.
Didn't I just tell you girls to shut the fuck up? What did I just say? As a parent of 3, I can relate.
You can absolutely relate with Verin, hey? Like, I mean, the girls are our girls, and I support them forever, but they are being fucking stupid.
Yeah, totally.
My 5-year-old, as you know, a couple of months ago, fell off a wall and split his head open. Yesterday, he was doing parkour outside. He's 5. He knows what parkour is. I'm like, what are you guys doing? No, we're doing parkour. Jumping off walls outside again. What did I just tell you?
Oh. But yes, they are acting like a bunch of 5-year-olds.
Yes, they very much are. And to that, Matt is taken away, and Verin immediately grabs the bag that was at his feet. That's obviously got the horn, and I assume she's got the shards of the second broken seal, or the 2 broken seals with her.
Oh, I hadn't thought of those, but possibly.
No, she has that with her as well, and she's like, I need to immediately speak to the Amyrlin seat. Like this, I need to go. And it's not necessary to put these girls in a cell, but, keep them under guard, take them to their rooms. They need to be ready to come for a if they get summoned by the Amyrlin, whether they will be. And don't give them anything but dry bread, cold broth, and water. Like, they can have anything else once the Amyrlin says it's okay. Like, all right, welcome back to the tower. And if they do step out of line, you're welcome to get them scrubbing pots. Like,
yes,
here we are. The pot scrubbing is right back into the mix again.
The worst conceivable punishment in the world.
I don't know. Like, Elaine hates it, so maybe they just like tapping in on that princess hands of hers.
To Elaine, it could actually be quite terrible.
Well, there was also some switching involved. She was going to beat her and then send her to Potts.
Mm. So yeah, either they now really know that they are in the shit, and the one except it almost takes quite a bit of pleasure in the treatment of the girls in this. Valon. She refers to Nynaeve as the wilder, so a lot of disdain there. One that could learn to channel before she even got there. But then the other Theodrin, she was quite like, no, you know, like you, I was also a wilder. Where's she from?
Yeah.
Copper skin
always makes me think Damani.
Yeah.
Those words often go together.
Yeah.
So she's like, no, look, let them be. Let's just get them to their rooms so that they can wait for what comes to them naturally. But Egwene starts thinking already, like, you picked already Theodore, whatever her name is, the other one, Valon. It's like you're gonna choose the red if you eventually get there. Like that's standing out in you.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is now them back into the tower. At least they've got cold broth and bread and water and waiting their penance or whatever it is that's going to be coming their way. And that was that. Anything else that you guys got out of that one then?
I got a couple morsels. How about you, Joe?
I was just looking at some stuff from was it the previous chapter where we talked? No, it was just this chapter talking about Verin. My theory that he smelt violence on her. I would like to retract that statement based on just reading a few lines here from the actual book. He dug his heels in and galloped forward before any of them could speak again. And Elaine says, "Now that is a surprise," as Verin slowed a little distance from the brown sister. She didn't notice him arriving next to her, and he wasn't, he was content to leave it so. And Elaine says, he has been staying as far away from Verin as he could ever since we left Toman Head, which made me think maybe that's why. But then she says, he always looks at her as if he's afraid of what she might say. Maybe he's afraid that she'll call him out as a dark friend for his ability to sniff. And that's why he's hiding it through the whole book, saying he saw tracks. He didn't see tracks. He smelt them. He smelt all of this. He smelt it in the towns. He smelt the violence. It's not hunches. It's not seeing tracks. But he's hiding his ability, and I think he fears that Verin might, say something about that.
But Verin knows he's a sniffer. He was sent into Folmo specifically as one of the 5 because he can sniff out Padan Fane.
Why is he hiding it now? Because he specifically says he catches himself. I smelt, and then he stops. I have a hunch.
He's a good guy, man. He's just a good guy that is just scared of. I mean, anyone should be
just
scared
a good guy in a bad world.
But even in his parting, where he's gotten them there, and he's like, "Cool, I'm leaving. Like, I'm turning around now. I'm getting straight on the first trade vessel up the river. I've got to go back to Faldara. My mission isn't over. I've got to go and talk to the king and to Lord Agelmar and tell them what happened and what pipes down is like what Rand the Dragon Reborn is." In that sort of greeting is also like, if you need, and this was to Verin, if you need anything, like you can send word for me and I will be there. Like he doesn't go like, I'm rid of the witches.
Yeah. So that's just his behavior on this whole trip has been really bizarre. Why is he hiding the fact that he's a sniffer?
I don't think he is hiding that because Verin already knows. Everybody knows. Maybe the girls don't know.
But maybe he's hiding it from them, but why? I don't get it.
Because they talk about, Egwene talks about his hunches.
Yes. He talks about his lies and says, I saw some tracks. He wasn't. He smelt them. And even when he catches himself saying, I smelt, and then holds himself back and changes what he's going to say.
So maybe he's hiding his ability from the girls and not from Verin. Because Verin 100% knows.
Yes. You reminded me of that now, that I'm even more confused. That didn't help me.
Well, your original theory of him sort of, being wary of Verin could be because of stuff that she's had to do as a Black Lodge member.
Here's the line. I smell. He cut himself short and blinked as if in surprise, eyes darting from one woman to another. Just a feeling, he said finally. A hunch. So he's terrified that they will find out, but I don't get it. Anyway.
So, I mean, the girls are always just looking at Euron thinking he's just a dude with a sword. He's not even a Shannara warrior. He's just a Shannara.
He's a special bloke, that guy. I'm so happy he didn't die or anything.
when he says to Verin or to the group that if you guys ever need me, I will come from Shinar. Just send word to Faldara and I will come. He seems embarrassed that he said it, which is reminiscent of, the behavior of people around Taverin.
Yes.
Saying things they didn't intend on saying, making decisions they didn't intend on making, just further strengthening the Egwene and Nynaeve are also Taverin theory.
That could be.
Because you read about the effects of Taverin on the world in these chapters. They're talking about, Rand's effect on the people around them, and they mention Arthur Hawkwing and like how people would say things around him that they didn't intend on saying. And here, Huron seems to say that thing, and then he feels embarrassed that he said it, and then he leaves.
Yeah, these chapters had a lot of emphasis on Taverin in general. I mean, there's the understanding, like Moiraine's telling was Perrin that, I mean, she doesn't even know what his ability is as a Taverin because there's never been someone as strong in it as he is. I mean, the last person was Lewis Theron.
And they haven't even touched on the fact that, like Matt is also Taverin. Like, there's like a whole other pool of random encounters coming from that side.
When Perrin is in her room in that little town in Jara, was it? She actually says, maybe I haven't been paying enough attention to the other two Taverin that I found. So she does touch on it a bit. Like, you guys are having a hard time. I'm sorry, I've been so focused on Rand. Well, now that he's gone, she's got time for the others.
Well, she's got no time for Matt. He's being carted on the back of a horse.
Oh, he'll be back.
Oh, Moiraine will have time for Matt later when he comes and saves her ass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Verin does a bit of fancy Aes Sedai footwork when talking to the guardsmen. When he says, we've heard rumor of, like what's happened in Falme in Toman Head or Falme in Tarabon. And, we heard it was burned to the ground or something like that. There was a war, a big battle. And Verin says...
Falme still stands.
She says, rumors are seldom true. I can tell you that Falme still stands. It isn't even in Tarabon, guardsmen. Listen less to rumor and more to the Amelin seat.
Yo.
So everything she says is true, and she even uses that opportunity to bring him into line to listen to the Amelin seat.
Oh, Verin is a mysterious puzzle.
Yeah, she continues to be an enigma.
You guys got anything else there?
When they're riding across the bridge, Egwene feels like she's coming home.
Yes.
Like she has this real powerful affinity with or to the tower. She's in deep. She's invested, right? She wants to be Aes Sedai, and that belief in what the tower stands for is what carries her through the story all the way to the end.
Yeah, she remains loyal to the tower and dedicates her life to it till the very end.
The very end.
Yeah, regardless of which tower, if it's in Saladar or if it's back on the island, it doesn't matter.
She does that whole thing when she reunites the towers where she makes the rebel Aes Sedai apologize for defying the law of the tower.
Yeah.
The Aes Sedai that raised her to Amelin.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, good thing she did. Because then the Seanchan pop in. Hey, we don't like your tower.
What up? And then she goes, what? Eat this.
And there's the chapter summarized.
Bank that one for later. I wanted to quickly touch on Theodrin and Faolain. Faolain, I think, is someone that you read about a fair bit. In fact, she goes to Saladar, and I think Egwene actually raises her to Aes Sedai. There's a lot of her like spying on behalf of Egwene on other sitters in Saladar. She's a recurring character for sure, but she's always written in such a way that you definitely dislike her. And did Egwene say in this chapter that she'll definitely choose red?
Yes,
because she doesn't.
Oh,
She
really?
chooses blue.
Ah,
Yeah, because despite her her acerbic nature, she is very much invested in a sense of justice, and she, at the end of the day, she does the right thing. And then Theodrin, who we said is a wilder, is someone that actually works with Nynaeve to break her own block. I think also in Saladar.
Maybe this is again playing on that Verin power of the girls. Like, if she was perceived to be red and thought that she would go in that direction, maybe their presence changed something in her that makes her make a different decision.
Maybe. And then lastly, I thought it was kind of cute that Elaine and Egwene hold hands as they walk into the tower to meet their fate. And I couldn't help but think back to like how Egwene has now changed her opinion of Min. It seems like, based on their last interaction, Elaine is going in the same direction, Egwene. So hold hands while you can.
Yes,
she's also coming. She's also coming for your man.
Well, it's not her man anymore. She told him off.
No.
She chose the tower. She chose the island.
Did you guys remember to choose a favorite moment?
Oh man, this was Slim Picking's favorite moments.
So is that a no?
No, I did.
Did you pick it during the recording of this episode?
No. I read I read this, and it doesn't seem like I'm getting away from reading the books twice over and trying to do this, but it seems to be what's happening. But it was initially in the first read a bit of Slim Picking, but through the second bit of going these 6 chapters, I found something that connected with me.
Okay, and that is?
Well, am I going first? Simeon. And his very quick and rapid character development, and his very
his little mini arc,
his little mini arc, and clever wit around him to know about the Aes Sedai. Already know that Perrin is this guy that the Whitecloaks had spoken about. He put one and one together very quickly. Just this, not everyone out there is country bumpkins.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed, like I said, just in the span of that one chapter, he basically goes from just
0 to hero.
Here's another lackey in a pub to actually showing some real compassion and gratitude.
Yes, understanding. Just not some judgmental Whitecloak or some judgmental person that wants to draw a dragon fang on every fucking door frame. It's
totally. I like old Simeon. I'm glad he found peace in his brother's freedom.
Yes.
All right, Jody, putting you on the spot.
I do not have a favorite moment. I have a couple of standouts, like you said, it was really Slim Pickings.
Balefire Darkhound, but you didn't think they were Darkhounds, so you just thought it was a dog that's being struck by lightning.
I just thought that's the only thing he's learnt. Like, he doesn't know anything except Balefire. He just starts at the top. But that was one of the standout moments for me. That Rand, like, saying, I'm not easy meat anymore, and Balefiring. And also just something about Perrin as well, standing up to Moiraine and then softening, that little like mini arc kind of a thing as well, where he, is like, okay, you what Villy said as well, that that's also what I noticed, because eventually we'll be talking about this the whole time. Why doesn't Moiraine tell them more? And it's right.
Yeah.
What she says in that part is like, I have a lifetime of knowledge. Like, any one of the 100 things I know could happen. And when it happens, like, oh yeah, I knew that amongst one of the many others that I knew. So in hindsight, it does seem like she knows everything and she's not telling them, but she can't, dump all of her knowledge on them in advance.
No,
man. So all 3 of us have young kids, and you especially with your boys, Jody, and me with my 2 boys. Like, not so much Jude, but very much so more Jamie. Is you can see when the shit's gonna go down, and you kind of like trying to coax them away from that thing that they are busy messing with. That it's not going to bode well for you. So, but I mean, you can't tell them everything. So much. They're just not going to listen. Yeah. It's like she could have told them like this is a potential thing to happen, and they would still go on and fuck it up like they usually do. These 2 River boys, women,
they do fuck up a lot.
Yeah, they do. The whole book is them escaping their own fucking disasters that they cause.
Joe, you actually touched on my favorite moment, which was Perrin standing up to Moiraine.
Oh yeah,
I really like how, I mean, especially for Perrin, who is so like, slow to act and considered in everything that he does, he still felt the need and the necessity to push Moiraine because of his own frustration. So even though it was out of character for him, I liked the fact that he showed that he can also get fired up, and that he's never scared of anything in the series. Like, he's not the guy that is like, Rand is constantly scared of going crazy. I guess Perrin's got his inner battle with his wolfishness, but he never comes across as being out of control. He's always calm. And here he's sort of, they describe like how he towers over Moiraine as well. But she just meets his stare like for like, because obviously she's Aes Sedai and she's super powerful. But that image of Perrin, like, quote unquote, throwing his weight around and then, standing up to her. I was like, yeah, go Perrin, do, because I'm also frustrated with Moiraine.
There was that scene. She's not meeting his stare; he's meeting hers. It's like one of the lines is like he just manages to not look down before she breaks away. Like he was about to crack under her pressure, but he like stands up to her. Yeah, but it's not complete, I think, until like the other chapters later on where he comes and asks her for help. Like he's not just being a stubborn asshole. He's genuinely worried about his friend and about himself. And so he does soften up a bit at the end there, and they kind of go fishing together, and everything's better.
I feel like some of these mini arcs were written to be covered in the number of chapters that we cover.
We've split up these books perfectly.
Almost by design. So if any of our listeners have favorite moments of their own from either the stretched chapters or anywhere in the story, or you have any comments or corrections or theories or anything you want to float by us or anything you want us to read in the show, do get in touch with us. All of our social media links are in the show description, but the easiest way, obviously, would just get a hold of us on Twitter. You can tweet us at Blood and Ash Pod. Next time, we'll cover chapters 12 through 17. That is the Amelin Seat through to the Red Sister. Ooh. Could that be Leandrin? Elida, Leandrin? Who could it be? Tune in next time to find out, as we find out with you.
Do you still tune into podcasts?
Sure. Why not?
No, okay. I was just wondering about that, like old radio. Tune that dial. Bloop, 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 bloop.
Yeah, I'm finding it really hard not to say tune in next week.
Yeah.
There will be no tuning, and also next week there will be no episode. But like we did last time, we would encourage you to get your friends to tweet us, to read the books, listen to the podcast, get in there, become part of the conversation. This Wheel of Time community that we have sort of been exposed to since starting the podcast is alive and kicking, and it is thriving, and it is a lot of fun to be a part of. So I would invite everyone to spread out and reach out. And with that, I think that we are done. So I will say goodbye, gentlemen, and I will see you next time.
Cheers, everyone.
Good evening.